Kohberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You knew that was false. For anybody who had never heard that before, that question is now planted into them, unqualified representation that Mr. Kohberger stalked one of the witnesses, and that's false. We do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area. There are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants.
Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Happy Wednesday. How's everyone doing today? We're gonna hang out for like a few minutes so that I can let people get in here. These were all scheduled, I don't know, like 4 days ago now. So the notifications are not working the way that they normally would, because normally I schedule stuff like the same day pretty much, so the notifications are fresh. So while we are waiting, I want to say hi for a few minutes, but I'm also going to go in and add a couple of things to the Google Drive because I'm trying to get stuff more organized for like subject conversation. Because like today, for instance, this is not going to be one really where I can go in and like pull up a bunch of stuff. Like there is things that I can pull up and show you, which we will, but this isn't going to be like a super deep dive. This is going to be more of us just going over the information in here that he is claiming that he got from the interview he did with Dr. Turvey. So I don't even have like a paper note for this one because there's very few things I'm going to actually pop up on the screen. It's mostly, again, just going to be like literally reading to you guys his verbatim quotes from the interview, because this is probably the most important and the closest we're going to get to him for now, because I haven't seen anybody have a rescheduling for the interview yet. And I know from seeing him on social media that he's working other cases. Like at this point in time, he's working other cases. I think he posted something about seeing some documents in like an Oklahoma Supreme Court case or something like that over the last few days. I don't know, something like that. So we're going to talk about what he has to say. And we're going to talk about what we have already seen in way of the subject that he's discussing. I just really hope that he does an interview soon with somebody who can really like ask the right questions, because there's a lot going on here. And again, my issue is with the person telling the story, because he has been incorrect on a lot of things, including things that we ourselves can see and hear, right? Like, just for example, we hear in the footage of Warner and Nunes at the house, what's he got there? That's like the majority consensus. And maybe I should do a poll. Can I do that now? I don't have it open on YouTube. I'll do a poll on YouTube. We hear like, what's he got there, right? And he has in his book that he hears, how'd you get there? And he's claiming that he's hearing that as a response. Nunes saying that he thinks that Ethan had like taken his own life and then all, you know, like all the other stuff and then taken his own life. And that's not like what we hear. And that it's important because when we have things that we can see that are like incorrect, it's really hard to be able to just trust the information coming from an already proven incorrect source, that they're telling us it correctly. Like they're relaying the information correctly, not to discredit the information, because that's something that we ourselves are trying to figure out what's false and what's fact when it comes to the information basis. But when it comes to the details of the information, when we already can prove so many things this guy has gotten incorrect, it's hard to just take what he's saying at face value. So I'm going to put a poll. What's he got there? Okay, hold on. What did Warner say to Nunes? What's he got there? Or how'd you get there? What did Warner say to Noons? What's he got there? How'd you get there? Okay. And I don't know. It's been like forever since I've even done one of these. I don't know how long YouTube like does it, or if it just like does it until whatever. But I'll just check it. Just remind me, because I'm not going to leave. I don't leave like the YouTube side of stuff open. I do everything I do through StreamYard. So just remind me to check it, because I don't think StreamYard even like lets you do one on this side. It might. You know what? I don't even know how to like use half this shit. You know, I just don't. So we'll figure it out. But it's, again, we're just trying to get to the base facts. And this is what we've done with James Patterson, with Howard Bloom, whatever, with everything that's come out. So I don't understand, again, why some people are acting like this is so horrible of me to do, when I wouldn't be doing the victims. I wouldn't be doing the case. I wouldn't be doing y'all. I wouldn't be doing all the time and energy and effort and that I spent over the past 3.5 years, any justice, if I wasn't doing this. So this is what we're doing. Okay. This is just what we're doing. Now, on top of there being interview pieces in here, there's also what he has titled Modus Operandi, which is the document that was filed by Brent Turvey on January 22nd, 2025. So report verbatim and then interview. But since we are needing to grab some photos from some things, let me open. I'm trying to get the Google Drive like really organized. So I went in and I reorganized some things today and relabeled a couple of things. Because like we're going to need to look at this one, because this is the one that I'm going to just assume that they're discussing in the book, because Turvey gave this photo to Kevin Fixler with the Idaho Statesman when he did his interview with him. And they discuss like a photo of the evidence bag in the interview, like in the book itself. So I don't know why Turvey would give Kevin Fixler a different one than what they're talking about, than like what him and Chris are talking about in the book. So I'm just going to assume that this is it. So we're going to take a bigger look at this, because it pretty much matches exactly what we already have, which is also something that I need to like move over, because I'm trying to get everything for the sheath put into just like one folder, because we do have stuff from like all over the place. Can I copy this? Oh, wait, is it going to just like make a copy in the same thing? That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see. Can I move it? Organize, I sure can. Okay, so I want to move all three of these to sheath. It'll be fine. Oh, see, that didn't really do what I wanted it to do. I didn't want to move it. I want to make a copy of it. Okay, see, so I'll organize that later. See, I'm still just trying to like learn things. Okay. All right, so let me open up actually the because we need these other ones. Let me open up the one from the forensic report. And then I will get those out of there and put them together, because like this one is not included in the forensic report, but it is basically from around the exact same time, from what I'm understanding. And it's just like, it's open. And the other ones that we have from the forensic report that was released has the bag closed up. So let's see. Go down here. I just want to put them all together in the folder. And I'll do the bag photos for now, and then I'll go back in later and I'll get all of the reports. See, we have this one. Let me see. Yeah, I see this comment. Yeah, actually, thank you for reminding me about that. I'm going to pull up I guess it's like just something from Twitter. I don't remember the exact article. I haven't really like read the whole thing. I just know that apparently some people think that Anne is going to try to blame Turvey somehow for the leak investigation, like the stuff that happened with Dateline. But I don't really know if I don't really know if that makes sense to me, because everything with Dateline was really anti-BK. Like, they try to say that he had like all these people's photos that were like college age girls from that area, and that like they just put like a whole bunch of crazy stuff out there. So I don't know if Turvey would have been the one to have like given them that information, because that's like the actual opposite of what he's out here trying to do, you know. That's number one. But we also have, who is it, the Celebrite people. When we looked at their interview thing they did the other day, they're like, oh yeah, you know, he contacted us and we didn't have access to this, what they say, Magnum Axiom or Axion or something like that. And I don't know, like everything about it's just really, really strange. But that seems to be the consensus right now, is that they think that she's going to try to blame it on him because he's already out here apparently like talking about stuff. But like, so is Cyree. And again, like, I don't understand why she's like choosing to like attack Turvey out of everybody. That's a little bit weird. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't know. Let me go and see, because I did want to talk about that. It was on my mind, but I honestly did not have time to even go and look at the articles that were being discussed. Did I save it? Okay. So this is what I saw. But there's not like a link here, so I don't know if there's an article. Is there an article, guys? So Michael Ruiz, who works for Fox Crime Digital, posted this. This is the first thing that I saw because some of the people like over here were talking about it, so it popped up. New in the feud between Bryan Kohberger's formal defense team and expert criminologist. Days after attorneys Ann Taylor, Eliza Massoth, and Becca Barlow accuse Brent Turvey of violating a confidentiality agreement, he fires back saying there is a criminal investigation underway into Taylor's office. Did he say that in that article that he did with Kevin Fixler? The one that we went over already? Is that what it said? Because we read that whole thing. Is there a new article? A detective with the Ada County Sheriff's Office reached out to me twice for an interview, stating that he was tasked with investigating the NBC leak. Ann Taylor also gave me permission via email to speak with law enforcement just over a month after they first reached out to me by phone and email. So yes, they are investigating her office for related criminal charges. I mean, I know that when it comes to the leak, the way that it was done definitely leaned more on Hippler thinking that it was the prosecution, because when the letters and everything were created, there wasn't one even made for the defense. Everything was aimed at the prosecution the entire time. They're the ones who had their order like brought up. Everything for the defense came afterwards. So Hitler pretty much automatically was like, oh, it was you. It was law enforcement. It was one of you guys. Now, the thing about that also is that they refuse now to like answer questions when it comes to what was actually leaked and accurate and what was leaked and not really true, because they've already said that some things were false and some things were right. There's an article about that already. Maybe we should do a live and go back over some of the information, but we should probably go back over the actual Dateline episode first. Like I said, Connor sent it to me. He had it. They had it, sent it to me. I have not had the chance to sit down and get rid of all the dumb shit, because I don't care about the interview of the chick that owns the the clothing store. I don't care about any of that. I want to just get like the information, and I'm going to assume that there's a way that I can go in and like clip certain things and still make that like publicly available to you guys, so that like I don't get in trouble for playing it on the channel, but that y'all can still like see and like know what the hell I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So I need to go in and find a way to like clip just like the information pieces that they have in there. But I will also say that one of the articles where they were answering things, the very specific detail was about the blood print in the white chair in Xana's room. I believe it was Gilbertson, the guy always in the grayish like suit, that came out and said that that was part of what they believed to be the leak, but that the information was false, that that's not true. So what else is not true? We don't freaking know. On top of that, the photos that they showed of like the girls that he apparently had in his phone were blurred out. They could have gotten those from anybody's local social media from that area and not even had it like actually on Kohberger's phone. There's no proof of any of that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what was true. I don't know what was false. I don't know how long until we can figure that out, but we should probably go back over it, because now this is coming back up. Now this is coming back up. It says this is the second investigation into the matter, as the first was administrative, conducted by the court and concluded last summer with the results sealed. So you're telling me, hold on. So you're telling me that they've already concluded another leak? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? What does this mean? Does this mean that the one from the Dateline stuff is already handled and they've not told us and it's been done since summertime? And now this second investigation is actually what's going on now? Is that what this says? Because we haven't heard anything. That's what it seems like. I'm going to have to try to ask the court some information. And why are they sealed? Yeah, no shit. That's what's crazy too. This is the second investigation. This literally sounds like the Dateline one is done and over with and they sealed the results. Or, hold on, could this be the one where the video got leaked and the guy from the jail didn't get in any trouble? That could be that one. I forgot about that one. I wonder if that could be that. I wonder if there's a way to find out. I'm going to have to try to find out. But I feel like if they figured it out and the results were sealed, wouldn't they still have to file something on the court website about it being sealed, since everything else about it's already on there too? I guess it could be about the one in the jail. I don't know. I do not know. Okay. Yeah. We're definitely gonna have to go over the Dateline episode again. I don't feel like we have a choice now. Okay. Let's go ahead and go over this. I will say, I didn't know that Dr. Turvey works a lot in Mexico. I guess I should have figured that because a lot of the stuff on his social media is in Spanish and I can't read it. So I guess I should have figured that. But I didn't know that he also works with the UN for model protocol for femicide investigations. I wonder if he knows about the Shanquella Robinson case. I wonder what he would think about that case. Because that's a crazy one. A lot of y'all were here for that one. There's still not any answers in that situation, even though there's video and like all kinds of stuff. Like it makes no sense. Thank you so much for the 5, Lori. I appreciate that. 10 gifted memberships. Kay Schmidt, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Congratulations to those who got those. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. Let me put a banner up real quick and then we'll start. Because again, I can't really do too much in way of like debunking anything because this is just interview. So I just want to discuss what he has to say. And then we'll look at a couple of things. Okay. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so he says here that, and how he calls the sheath the scabbard for the majority. Like he says sheath maybe a couple of times, but he calls it a scabbard, so that's why I'm saying it that way. It starts out, what brought me to the case was the scabbard. They were concerned, the defense, because from the perspective of the attorneys, they hired me to address the question of what role the scabbard played in the commission of the crime. And then it says, just looking at it, it's wrong. And he says, the scabbard is placed wrong. It's too clean. It's upside down. It's underneath the body, hanging out of the side of the bed. Just looking at that one set of pictures related to the scabbard, I said, okay, we need a top to bottom reconstruction and crime scene analysis because this is wrong. Let me actually go and pull the pictures up of the scene so that we can have that one as reference on the screen for this portion. And I actually do like the way he mentions the fact that it does seem very much placed for the reason of there's no like blood smears on it. Like it seems like it would have definitely had to have been like placed in its position after the blood on it was dry. Which makes sense, especially if like they're going to try to pretend as if it was like somehow dropped in the middle of a struggle, but as like there's still movement on the bed, it's not smearing from the body movement. You know what I mean? So that's a good point. Okay, I'm gonna let this load. It says, the scabbard itself is wrong for the case, wrong for the crimes. And then once we expand out from there, the next question becomes the logistics of how the crimes were committed. The idea that one person could do all of this in such a narrow time frame is difficult to make sense of. Then also the fact that police found nothing on him, no indication that he carried any evidence from the scene when he left. Not only that, but we also need to remember the fact that when they brought dogs out, there was no scent of blood from the house to anywhere. Like there was no smell of blood literally anywhere. And they want us to believe that all this happened in like a matter of like what, a minute and a half to 3.5 minutes tops. And they didn't find anything in the bathrooms in way of a cleanup, in way of blood going down a drain or anything like that. Nothing that we've seen. Now, I do know that there's stuff in the kitchen, but they basically didn't care about the kitchen, which is also a big problem because there's a spot of blood on the kitchen floor right in front of the drawer, you know, where apparently Hunter Johnson got the knife from, you know, there's that. But the emails and stuff about the sink, like they talk about like there was a hair in the sink and they took it out, but that they didn't do anything else. Like the drains really weren't worked. And that was one of my first things. Like one of my very first things in the case 3 years ago was like, are they going to take the drains out? Are they going to test the drains for blood and hair? Are they going to do anything like that? I really hope they tested all the plumbing. I really hope that they did all of this, and they didn't. They didn't do like anything in way of anything that they should have done. And I don't really quite understand why they left so much undone. That's what's so crazy. Let me grab my index real fast, and then we'll pull up the photos. Okay, hold on. Let me get them pulled up. Because I go through these pretty fast and I would probably like hurt y'all's eyes. So let me get to where I need to be. Eventually I'll be able to sit down and finish indexing all of these, and then I won't have to do all of this. Like I basically stopped all the detail when I was done with Xana's room because like all kinds of other stuff came out and I need to sit down and like be just as detailed in the rest of it. And I just don't have the time right now, but I need to because it would probably make the rest of this a lot easier. Like a lot easier. I know it's like towards the bottom. Yeah. Okay, so here's the room. Here we go. Okay. Where's the closer up one of that? Too far. Okay. Where's the one with the evidence marker? Because it's closer. I don't know. See, I don't know why they're separated like that too. It's so stupid. It's not it. Okay, here we go. So this is how he's describing it. Now, see, I wonder if this is actually like Maddie's back. Because, like, okay, there's been a bunch of discrepancies. Oh, let me pull the screen up. There's been a bunch of discrepancies about where it actually was in way of like touching her, right? Because we know she had black pants on. So I was looking at this closer, and it looks like right here. Let me do this in yellow and make it thinner. Okay. It looks like right here, like, okay, here is this box. Let me do that first. Here is the redaction box, okay? And it goes down. And then it does this. And then it goes down, okay? It looks like right here, like this would be blanket because this is like beige. All right. So then it looks like right here and right here is like rigid, like it's sweatpants, like all the way down here, sort of like that. Sort of like that. And you see how this is flesh color, but this is the blanket. This is like the blanket. It has to be the blanket. There's like blood up here on the blanket. This is like the beige blanket, right? Like at her waist. They always describe it as being like at her, like back of her thigh, which is what's always thrown me off because like it didn't hit me that she had pants on until someone said it in chat the other day. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. She has freaking pants on. So how could that be behind her thigh if they're not claiming that her pants were down? Because this would have had to have been like below her pants, like below, like below by her knee. You know what I mean? Like they would have to be down in order for this to be at her thigh. So this just seems like it's probably more like at the bottom of her back, right? Yes, I know. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. So it looks like this would be more at her back than at her thigh. Just from observation because of what they've said about the pants. I don't know. I wish that it was a little bit more clear because they said that she had pants on. See, right here is the original state in which it would have been found. So when Warner would have walked over to that side of the bed and checked her leg for lividity, this would have been sticking out. This much would have been sticking out. This is what it looked like after they pulled the blanket back. But this is what it looked like when he apparently walked over there. Now, the big problem it is, too, when it comes to like what's been seen, is that it looks like, according to the information that Whitcomb has, is that he's only seen Noon's body cam, not redacted. In order to get the true answer to this, we need Warner's body cam unredacted. So I'm just assuming based off of the things that he's discussing, because he never once mentions Warner's, is that whatever was in the Brady discovery didn't include it. for some reason. It only included Nunes. Now, I know Nunes was first responder, but Werner was there when the girls were found on the 3rd floor. So I feel like his body cam would have been just as important, yeah? So I don't know why his is not included in that information, because that's really for real the one that we need to see. Really for real the one that we need to see. Okay, so then he says, the victims are soaked in blood. The floors are soaked in blood in the bedroom, and there's nothing on him whatsoever, is what they're wanting people to basically to believe. So then it says, so because those things are true, the fact that there's literally nothing on him in his apartment, in his car, at his parents' house, in his office, there's no indication of anything. They have nothing. Again, they can't actually put him in that area. They can't actually put him connected to the victims, connected to the survivors, connected to the house. They can't connect him. Literally at all. And now the one thing, again, that can connect him is a resubmitted swab that we have no information on. Now, I will also tell y'all that today I did get a response from the Idaho State Police, from Matthew Gamet himself, about needing some additional information, like additional time in order to respond. The last few that I've sent in, it's been like an automated response, but this one is actually signed by Matthew Gamet, which he's done before when I was asking for like specific forensic type information. So it's there. He's got it. And it's me specifically asking about the 1.1 swab resubmission dated on 11/18 and all the information. So hopefully we get an answer soon. I know the last time that I had to talk to him about like the information about the off-room trip, that everything was like pretty quick. So hopefully we get that information pretty soon from him. Let's see. Oh, and I emailed Amber on like Monday, I think it was, about the ATF guy interview, and I have not gotten that. She also has not responded back when I said, okay, so if the stuff about Ethan Chapin's apartment's already in there, can you please like let me know which reports you're talking about? And she hasn't responded to that. Oh, and see, I have so many updates. I need to like actually pay more attention to like updating things, so it's just not like a last minute thing. Okay, so today I finally sent a follow-up email to frickin' Dollinger, and I get an instant "I'm out of the office" response. So let's see, when did I send it off? Here, I sent him today at 2:40 p.m. my time. I said, hello. I sent this email last week because I like forwarded it through. I sent this email last week and was hoping for a response regarding this matter. We spent $1,500 on this footage, and it seems we were lied to about its contents. I was advised by several people, including your city attorney, that you, in all caps, were the person to ask about this issue. Please respond as soon as possible. And then I signed my name. Instantly got an out of office response. Let me pull it up. Currently out of office with limited access to email. If you need immediate assistance, please contact Blaker. And it's his email. And then the main line number, which is the 208-883-7054 for MPD. So you're out of the office now, but you weren't out of the office last week when I emailed you, you know. Just convenient. Just convenient. Okay. So basically, he's claiming that since these things are true, you have to start small, and then you use your information to expand with questions and try to figure out how the blood moves around the scene or fails to move around the scene, and how one person couldn't have done it all in a short amount of time. And again, they're wanting us to believe it's like 1.5 to 3.5 minutes, which is insane. Then you start realizing that all the evidence points to more people, or at least 2 people, and multiple causes of death, that multiple weapons were used, and it just sort of builds out. You start asking questions, and the logistics make it impossible for the narrative to hold. Yeah. Legitimate. I have said one of my things from the very beginning is, how come Ethan and Xana didn't call 911? Because we knew that they were up. We knew that we were not being told the truth a long time ago about everyone being asleep. So if Dylan is hearing screaming and yelling Kaylee's name and like all these things are going on, you have Bethany downstairs, and then you have Ethan and Xana, and no one called 911. No one tried to run out the house. No one tried to get help. So when we started really thinking about the timing, and then we got more information, it all ended up being more like this was a simultaneous event. There were multiple people, some people on the top, some people in the freaking middle. And Dylan probably just, if she actually did just see one person, she just saw one person, but that's not the only person that was there. There's no freaking way. There's no way. It had to be simultaneous attacks in order for it to go down in the amount of time that the state themselves are wanting us to believe. Especially considering the fact Kohberger has dexterity issues. He couldn't even fillet a damn fish. That doesn't just like go away. That's something that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. And for people with dexterity and mobility issues, going on runs is pretty much as athletic as they can really actually get, because they can't balance correctly. They can't move around correctly. They can't turn corners correctly. They have balance and issues. That's a thing. And it's a thing that we know that he actually has. So how are you going to expect me to believe that he did all this in such a short amount of time? Barely made any mistakes besides the freaking knife sheath. No trail of anything anywhere. Perfectly cleaned his car, but then was just still stupid enough to like have stuff on social media and have Wi-Fi on. Like, we all knew that was bullshit. I've said from the beginning, he can't be dumb and smart as shit at the same time. That's not how it works. How does Lucy say it? They want to believe that he outsmarted the feds with NordVPN and like Google Imprivado or like whatever the private incognito mode is. Like, no, I'm sorry, what? That's not how that works. There's no way. There's no way. It always had to be more than one person, and there was nothing telling me that Kohberger was one of them. To this day, nothing points there. Nothing points there. So then he says, how do you make it make sense? With the sheath, how it looks, how it's sitting there, all the things. And he says, because it wasn't there. And this is where we get into Detective Talbot's handwritten note. He says, Detective Talbot wrote during his search that he found the sheath on the floor. Perhaps we should believe him, which I understand. I really do, because that's crazy and makes perfect sense considering everything that we've already talked about. And the most important one, in my opinion, is the fact that Warner, again, walked to that side of the bed, checked Maddie's leg for lividity, and never once said he saw a knife sheath. It's not in his report. There's no discussion of it. It's never mentioned by him. Ever. And if his initial report doesn't mention the knife sheath, that's a huge problem. And then we also have Snyder, who walked around snapping pictures of the crime scene, doesn't have anything in there about a knife sheath. And this is what it would have looked like before the blanket was pulled back. It would have been extremely noticeable. So how do we have all of these people? Nunes, Gunderson, Corbin Smith, Snyder, Warner, names I can't remember. How do we have all of them coming into the scene? All of them walk around the house at some point. I don't know how many went up to the third floor, but several people were up there. Several people went in there to see what was going on. How do we have all of those people and not a single person from the Moscow Police Department has in their report that they saw a knife sheath at the scene? The first report about the knife sheath was written for the 14th, when someone was simply told that one was found, and then he was sent off to Walmart to go and see if they sold one like that. Not a single Moscow Police Department officer mentions the knife sheath. That's a problem. Huge problem. Now, I did FOIA ISP for whatever this is right here, this handwritten stuff. Let me see. At least I'm pretty sure I already sent it in. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So on Monday, just this past Monday, so I should be probably hearing from Matthew about this one pretty soon too. I said, it has come to our attention that a 4-page inventory report was taken by someone associated with the Idaho State Police on 11/13/22 regarding the 11/22 King Road homicides. We are aware of the public reports released and of the text printed inventory reports attached to these summary reports, but the example for this document being shown to the public is a printed form that has been filled out in someone's handwriting. I've attached the image being shown to the public for reference. This person sharing this information is stating it's Officer Jeff Talbot, but has shown no proof of that. Regardless of the amount of the pages or its author, I am formally requesting this document and any and all associated information. Now I'm going to go and pull up that picture real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about when I say that he's not showing any proof of it. And if this is out here anywhere like in full that you guys have seen, please let me know so I can go and get it, because I'm going to show you the only one that I've seen. And I don't know why I have not actually like fully saved this to the drive yet, but I'm going to go grab it. Did she actually do a live with Homeboy? Ew, she did do one with him. 3 days ago, Anjanette Levy did another interview with him. I thought that they only did the one, so I never went to go look for it. I guess I'll take a listen to it later. See if he says anything extra. Okay, let me go pull this up. I'll save this to the drive now, because I have a folder too for Broken Plea, and I have like the Dylan picture and a couple of snapshots from like the Statesman article and stuff like that in there. So I'll take this snapshot again real quick and place it in there real fast so that it's in the drive. But look, this is what he's showing right here, okay? This is not even the full page. It doesn't have the date on it. It doesn't have the person's signature at the bottom of the page like a bunch of these do. So when I'm saying in my response, he's not showing any proof that it's Jeff Talbot, he's not showing any proof that it's Jeff Talbot. And that's just the truth. I'm going based off of the facts that we have here. So let me add this to the drive real quick. He's claiming 4-page report by Talbot. Now, I'm going to assume again that this is a page that was given to him from Turvey. And I'm not doubting that it's whatever Turvey says. Okay, there's no reason for him to say that it's not, but it still looks like female handwriting. So I'm still questioning that. I don't know if Talbot is just like the supervisor that signed off on it, because this looks like chick handwriting. So that's still up in the air, I guess. I guess it's still up in the air. But I don't know why the full document wasn't shown. I don't know. I don't understand that. That's a little deceptive. I don't know why the full thing, all the way down to like the date and stuff, was not shown. I don't know. But let me go ahead and add this to the folder now. Okay. All right, that's in there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why. Anyway. Okay. Okay. So then it seems like Chris Whitcomb. Oh, and somebody said I called him Christopher Whitcomb the other day, and someone in like all caps yelled, "He's not Christopher." Well, I mean, he is. I mean, I crossed his name out because he sucks and this book is horrible. But his name is Christopher, so I don't know what that was all about. Just, you know, something that just came to mind. Okay. So then he says, how important is it? If this is a problem, how important is this issue? And Turvey says it's huge because the first people at the scene, the first documentation at the scene, does not indicate its position. It isn't even mentioned by first responders, and that is a huge deal, and it is. It's a huge deal. That's ridiculous. I don't understand how that wasn't something that Ann Taylor fought. That's one of those things that I said, I don't understand why she was fighting X, Y, and Z. That really don't do much of anything when we have severe issues with the swab, with the knife sheath, with the information like not matching. There were so many real things that could have been used, so many things in the probable cause that should have been fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine initiated bullshit. Like, I just don't understand why she didn't fight certain things that are very glaringly obvious, like glaringly obvious. It says, if you walk into the room and you walk around the corner of the bed, you're going to see it. Yeah, and that's exactly what Warner did. He has no problem putting in his report that he went off to the left side of the bed, check Maddie's leg for lividity. The leg is right there. How do you not see it? So then he says this, and this is important too, because of a lot of what we heard in the conversation and all the cameras so far. Is it possible for them to miss it in a case when you're looking at a bunch of blood and a bunch of bodies? And he says, yes, but these officers are not idiots. These people are from Idaho. They know what a knife scabbard looks like. They are not new to the game. And where were a whole bunch of them that morning? Hunting trips. Hunting trips. Quite a few of them seem to have all been on hunting trips. So that's important. And then Talbot says he found it on the floor. That's the most difficult part because it's not on the floor according to the photos. That is found on the floor. Once he says it, other people start saying it. And what's funny about that is that you can tell who looked at the crime scene photographs and who didn't. But that's not necessarily true either because we're 3.5 years in and nobody ever repeated that it was on the floor until this book came out, right? We've never heard anything about it being on the floor until this book. So to say that once he says it and other people start saying it, and then it just basically is like a game of telephone and you can tell who really looked at stuff and who didn't, no one said anything about it being on the floor. At all. So I guess my question is, the person who actually wrote that it was found on the floor, if it is Talbot, then he's in trouble all by his little self. You know what I mean? Like, it's him. Something's up with, on top of whoever put it there. But for Talbot to say that and then to know that there's photographs that show differently, because there's no way that he doesn't know what the photographs look like obviously he's not being honest. But what about if it wasn't Talbot that actually filled that out and all he was like the supervisor who signed off on it because he was ISP lead at the time? That person has to by now know that the photographs show that it's on the bed. Unless for some reason they're just not paying attention to the other things in that. But ISP are the ones who released the photos of it on the bed. So I feel like they would have to. I don't know what to think. I feel like there's a lot of people that could potentially have said something by now if it were true, because that's in the original paperwork apparently, and nobody has said a word. I don't even know. I don't even know what to think. I don't know what to think. I don't know. This statement is now in the ether, but it's really not until now. Now it is, but it wasn't for the past 3.5 years at all. There are people out there repeating it in documents. There are people repeating it on the internet, different discussion boards. People think this is where the scabbard was found. And so for me, this is an obvious problem. The placement of the scabbard is the problem, talking about it not being on the bed. You have a knife sheath placed upside down underneath the thigh. See, that's another problem. I don't know if that's where it is. I don't know if that's where it is. Someone needs to explain the pants situation to me. Because it's honestly neither here nor there, but details do matter. So we kind of do need to know. And it has got a teeny little bit of blood on it, but the bed sheet underneath it is splattered with blood. Let's check that. Let's look and see what the sheet underneath it looks like. I mean, it's got little specks, just like it had little specks, though. It's not really blood soaked on the side where the sheath is. Yeah. I wouldn't call it crazy. Like that. Okay, with little dots all over the place like a starry night. And the sheath doesn't have hardly any on it. I mean, it has about the same amount as its surrounding area though, right? Like, is it oh God, I can't see this screen over here. I need to get my second monitor hooked up because like, this is not working for me. Okay. Is it safe for me to say, like, is it a fair assumption for me to say that the amount of speckles on the knife sheath pretty much match the amount of speckles on the sheet? Like, is it fair to say that the amount of speckles on the sheath match what we see on the sheet? Because the sheet is not like super soaked at all. It's pretty much like just a speckly. Yeah, it's like just a speckly. I feel like it matches the area. So he said, okay, so let me reread how he says it. You have a knife sheath placed upside down underneath the thigh, and it has just got a teeny little bit of blood on it, but the bed sheet underneath it is spattered with blood. It's really more like it all matches to me. Like, it looks like it, yeah, it doesn't look like, it's not bloody, bloody, bloody under the sheet. And the sheath doesn't have hardly any on it, but it does pretty much match its area. I will say that. Thank you for the 5, Angel. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that it looks like a fair assessment would be that the sheet and the sheath like are pretty much match speckly. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, let me pull that up. Hold on a second. Let me pull that up. Because this is the photos. Let me get rid of that. Let me go open the forensic record thing. There's the photos. There's Dollinger. There they are. Open, please. Okay, yeah, it's opening. I'll just put it here. Okay. So we have, let's go up. So here is this one. Move my head. So turn it. Oh no, not turn it. Let me put it back where it was. No, yeah, I guess that's right, right? Hold on. Yeah. So we'll put it right here. And then, oh yeah, like it's pretty much got the same little spots. So you basically have like nothing at all, like here, like at all. And then you've got these little 2 specks right here. And maybe like one right here and right here. I don't know. Like it looks a little bit more dotty right here. And then you go here. Zoom it in. And then the exact same spot. Oh, that's too fat. Hold on. Here, here. And you can see like little dots in here. Little tiny ones right here on the side. Yeah. Oh. It's this one file with these 2,300 pages that always makes my computer act crazy. But yeah, it pretty much like it lines up with the dots. Oh, come on, load up, please. This thing is going to get on my nerves. thing always, like every time I have this 2,300 and something page one open, it does this. So I'm gonna have to close it here in a minute. But yeah, that's pretty much, here we go again. It's doing it again. Okay. But yeah, it's pretty much the same when it comes to the little spots. No, this is like her skin right here. Like this is what I was shown at the beginning. Like this is the redaction box that they placed on it. And then like even in here, like right here, there's like a little bit of what looks to be like a piece of pants right here. So this is Maddie's skin and this is the pants. So that's why we can't really figure out if this is really her thigh or if it's like the back of her leg. Yeah, I can't figure out whether it's her thigh or the back of her leg. Her back of her thigh or like the back of her back, like her very lower back. And like, that's like maybe the top band of her pants. I don't know. I have no idea. It's difficult because we know she had pants on and then like you can see the black pants on it. So I don't know. It's very difficult. It says when it slides on top of those blood stains, those blood spatters, it doesn't disturb them. It means they were dry. And I think he's talking about the blood spatter that would be underneath. Yeah, I feel like it's lower back waistline. Yeah. But he says thigh in here. He says placed upside down underneath the thigh. So that's why we were trying to figure out exactly like what it was. But I don't know. It's just a little bit back everywhere. But I think what he's discussing here is the fact that there's no disturbing underneath either. Like you see how like this was just picked up from there and these don't have any drag marks on them like they were disturbed at all. Like they're perfectly circular still. Yeah, right here is like where the sheath was. Because see, this little stain is like back here. And that's this one right here. Yeah. So they weren't disturbed. They're not drug marked or anything. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, yeah, he reiterates, yeah, it doesn't smear and it didn't smear. So if it didn't smear and it didn't transfer from the sheath to the knife sheath as it was being shoved under the thigh, that means the blood on the sheet was dry. And if that's true, that means either the offender was there after the blood dried, which is one possibility, or law enforcement found it, as Talbot said, on the floor and shoved it under the thigh to make it look like it was dropped contemporaneous with the crimes. And I feel like if it was on the floor, it would probably still just have little bitty specks like this. They would probably still just have these little bitty specks because it's even farther down. That's farther for the blood to go. I feel like it definitely could have been on the floor and then picked up and put there. For sure. Yeah. For sure. I really do. Like, there's no one in their right mind that would have brought a freaking knife sheath to this event. Like, there's just no freaking way. See the original state? There's no way that Warner went over there and literally checked the leg that is right here and didn't see that. There's no way. Yeah, planted for sure. There's no way. And plus, it looks freaking brand new. It looks brand new. I'll pull up the forensic report one more time after I can turn this one off, because having both of them open, they have over 2,000 pages each, and it just like this one's 2790, the other one's 2356. It completely just makes my whole thing freeze to go back and forth. This was another reason why I want to get them the folders in the Google Drive by subject to make it easier, so I don't have to do that, and they're just right there. That's what I'm going to work on, getting all the ones for the sheath later tonight put in there. So then he says, either way, somebody deliberately placed it there. It doesn't matter who at this point. Oh, but it does. Why would you even say that? Ew, why would you say that? It totally matters. Holy shit. Whoever planted it needs to go to prison. What? Totally matters. Somebody deliberately planted it there, and then you know what appears to be a fabricated chain of custody, and it becomes a piece of evidence that is essentially, in any other courthouse in America, inadmissible. Now, the chain of custody is the really interesting part again, because what he's claiming to have seen, we don't have access to this. And I also haven't seen any indication from what we do have that they had any issue with the chain of custody from 11/16. I don't. Because at that point, it's not Talbot's handoff. You know what I mean? Like, Moscow took the knife sheath and they had it until the 16th. A trooper came and picked it up and then met another trooper in the middle. That other trooper is the one who brought it over to ISP's forensic lab. Riley Nowlin then sends out an email letting everyone know that it's there. The next morning, everything gets started. So considering that there's nothing on the report for when it got there, like there is for other things that they had issues, like with the evidence tape and things like that, like they notated when they had problems for every time that something came in, either a hand delivery or an agency courier. They noted all of that. And there's no notations for the 16th. So it's just kind of confusing because I need to be able to see these things and we don't have access. I've asked for them. So we'll see what happens. But this, again, I am assuming is what he showed Whitcomb. Because again, this is the one that was given to Kevin Fixler with the Idaho Statesman from Turvey when he did the interview with him. And as you can see, it matches what we got when we spent $200 from Moscow in order for us to be able to get the chain of custody information from them. And remember, we saw this as soon as we got it in November, and we were like, that was one human. That was one person who came in with a freaking marker because somebody had to hurry up and put something on here because it was missing what it needed, which sort of does sound like what we're hearing is going on with the emails, but we don't see anything notated for them being prompted to do so, which is my problem. I also am wondering if maybe the resubmission that we're seeing on 11/18 could be them having some sort of chain of custody issue and having it like maybe sent back or corrected for some reason. But my problem with that being what that is that it's only 1.1 that's being marked as a resubmission for that date, not the 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4 that were also created at the same time. And again, it's not item 1, the knife sheath, that's being resubmitted. It's 1.1 swab of front strap that's being resubmitted. So that's another reason why it's like, I don't think that's it either, but it's still just really confusing because it's another date that we have questions about. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. I don't even know what to think. Okay. So what he's claiming is that, and this is where it really bothers me that he didn't do a better fact check here. And I also can't see any proof of what he's claiming when it comes to the signature either. Okay. So what we have here is it being from the scene to Detective Talbot on 11/13. Okay. Then we have Detective Talbot to the Moscow Police Department on 11/14/22. That's when it was actually entered into the evidence. And you can see that on the narrative that came out in the Moscow Police Department records. It's marked 11/14, and then it's given 22M1810 as its evidence number. Now, I don't know if something happened like in between Talbot and Moscow Police Department when it was given to Detective Payne, because we were meant to assume Moscow took it from the scene. ISP helped collect it. Talbot signed off on whatever ISP did, but it went with the Moscow Police Department. That's what we were under the impression of the whole time. So now this part right here is questionable because it seems like there might actually be some information missing, but somehow, why? I don't understand this part. Why would it have gone from the scene to Talbot and then to Payne and then back to ISP to the lab when the lab is the one that has to get the DNA off of it? What in the world would MPD need it for? If they already had photos of it, if they already saw the symbol on it, if they already like had the pictures that they needed to go off of so they could try to find like similar listings and where it was for sale, why would they even have needed to get it back from Talbot other than they're the lead agency? But then you also see it goes from Payne to the MPD evidence locker on 11/14. And then there's a name right here. I don't know what this says. Is it clearer on the other one? Let me see. I guess it could say evidence. Okay. Yeah, it says, because this is when, okay, this is whenever it was taken from the evidence lab on the 16th. Well, the evidence locker at MPD on the 16th and given to Corporal, I think it's Williamson is his name, something like that. He's the trooper from, it was either a District 2 to District 3 handoff or a District 3 to District 2 handoff, but he was one of the Idaho State troopers that picked it up. But then he met up with Torrentine. Torrentine met up with him in New Meadows. And the emails that Rylene Nowlin was sending out was letting people know, hey, he just met up with Torrentine. He's on the way. It'll be another 4 or 5 hours. And then we see the follow-up email saying, hey, it just got here close to like 4 p.m. So then you see how Torrentine then gives it off to ISP. But we don't have anything with this person's name on it. He says that the picture depicts a brown paper bag that has been folded flat and sealed with red and white tape labeled evidence. Okay, folded flat, folded flat. The bag itself is dated 11/16/22. And that's right here. Let me go right here so you can see this part. Oh, I guess I can sort of see it, but it's like scribbly. Hold on. Okay, there's 11/16/22. Okay, can I flip this? I can't flip this here. And then it says that the person's name reads Shannon Amident, AMIDNT. And I guess I can see maybe like where he's getting that from, but people's signatures are not readable. Like we know that that's just pretty freaking normal. That's pretty normal for a signature to be a little sloppy. What aggravated me with this is that he repeats this incorrect name like several times. And the truth is that this person's last name is Orindo. And she's actually the one that signs off on the majority of these evidence receipts when evidence gets brought into the lab. She signed off on the 11/16 and then the 11/18 for sure. She's basically just like the person who receives it from the courier or whoever is dropping it off. And her name is on like several of these. Also, when it comes to somebody else that works in the lab called Candy Floria, he has her name in here as Florio, and her name is spelled Florea, I believe. So I don't know why he's like making a big deal about signatures and stuff, especially if it's true that they did something with electronic stuff, which is still something that we're waiting to be able to see. But let me show you the page here. See how this says Turrentine? He's the person who brought it in. And then this one says Smaldridge for the 11/18 resubmission. But see also how, this is what I was meaning. When they do have a problem, they notate it. And notice how there's nothing here when it got there. They didn't seem to have any problems. They don't seem to have any issues. And then they have this one from 1/6/23 and from 2/7 that seem to have had issues that they ended up having to correct. So there's that part. Okay, let me get to this evidence receipt. I think it's at like 25 or something like that. Okay. It's a little bit too far. I want the first one. Okay, here it is right here. See, her name is right here. Date received 11/16. Shannon Arredondo. Arredondo is her name. So then he also has here chain of custody transfer for 12/6, which is right here at the top right here. FLO. I don't know. It is hard to read, but her name is Candy Floria. I'll show y'all her name real fast. Right here. There's her name. So I don't know. That's just what he put in here. So then he goes to, like, he has like a little grid in here that kind of shows like the way that he is seeing this right here on the label. See how he put it in there? So then it says, so he basically was like, Chris Whitcomb was basically like, yeah, it looks like a chain of custody. Like, what's the problem? So then he was like, okay, I'm going to do a little exercise. How many people, according to this chain of custody, have handled this item of evidence? Well, if you look at it, it went from the scene to Talbot, Talbot to Payne, Payne to the evidence locker. So I don't really know if you would count that, but I'm sure that there's like somebody that takes care of the evidence locker, right? So let's just go ahead and make it 3, because I feel like there's like a person that's supposed to be there for that. Then we have from the evidence locker to the first trooper that picked it up on the 16th, then to the middleman, and then it gets to the actual lab. So that's like 6 by the time that Shannon actually gets it. So then he says it's 7 because on the top you have these 2 names too. So I guess like, yeah, 7 or 8. Maybe they don't have a person at the evidence lab. But if you count Candy up here, Candy Floria, and then you also count C. McKenna, there's like 8 people, 7 to 8 people that have touched it. The thing with that is that there's more people than that touched this situation here. Like if you dig into the documents, there's multiple people that touched it, swabbed it, did things with the swabs, did the fingerprinting. So while like this is the chain of custody for this, it's not the true chain of custody for all of the pieces, because people had to handle it in order to swab it. People had to handle it in order to do the fingerprinting, and we don't see all of that information. We also don't see another person's information on here whose initials are KD. I think she got married at some point, so the last name changed, so I have to like dig into all of that, but she was someone else that worked at the lab that also handled it in order to do other things with the swabs too. So this isn't everything. This is not everything. He says, first, we need to know that this is actually from this case. Moscow Police Department, there it is. This is the knife sheath collected on November 13th, 2022. Then he says, he asked Turvey if he knew about Detective Talbot's December 6th reports, where he stated that the sheath was seized by C. McKenna, not Candy Florio or Shannon. And he's got like the wrong names in here. See, that's a report that we don't have. Because the report that we have for Talbot doesn't say anything about McKenna gathering the sheath, I don't think. So let's pull up the report and see if it does. But we went over it like a couple of days ago, and I don't remember seeing anything in there about that portion. So let's look. Okay, so this is the report he wrote. Okay. He mentions the sheath. Where? right here. Near Mogen's left hip, which is probably more likely where it was, considering the pants issue. It was probably more her hip. I could see the pants being down just enough to where it'd be like her hip. Was a tan leather knife sheath, partially covered by the comforter. And then let's see where it goes down right here. It talks about Talbot started doing 3D scans of Kernodle in Mogen's rooms at 6:30 p.m. At 7:05, Detective Powell, Schwecke, and Talbot started marking the evidence markers with numbered placards, while Detective Roberts photographed the exhibits. So it sounds like so far there is only males there. But we know females showed up because we've seen them in the footage. We know that there's the shorter, older lady with like the short purple hair. Her daughter comes into the chat a lot. We know that she was there pretty early on because one of the MPD officers is asking her if she's the one that's keeping like name at the door. And that's interesting that her name is not like on this thing. So then it comes down here to talk about where the sheath was on the list. Let's see, where is it at? Did I just pass it up? Because isn't it like number 14 or some shit? Right here. K-bar sheath located on bed of floor 3 east bedroom. And he's putting Detective Powell, Detective Schwecke, and himself as being responsible. And then Detective Roberts is the one just taking the photos. So I guess it very well could be Talbot's handwriting. It's very feminine. I don't know if that sounds sexist or not, but that's very feminine handwriting. Where'd it go? Like, am I wrong in saying that? Like, I feel this is like very feminine. I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's 82%. What's he got there? And that's what the majority of us heard, like months and months and months and months and months ago. Yeah, I guess it could be. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. There were females there working the scene. So it just seems odd that it looks very feminine to me, but it's supposed to be, okay. I mean, I guess it could be. I guess it could be. Because he's not saying that there's any dudes. I mean, there's any chicks there. Which again is odd though, because there was. You know what I mean? Like there was. Does he even mention like anybody else here? Let's see. So, okay, so it looks like from 7:05 to 8:15, they were going around doing that kind of stuff. And then at 8:15, Short's funeral home showed up. And that's when Mabbitt showed up, I guess. And then Debbie Karskalin arrived at the scene to remove the bodies. It says they put paper bags on all 4 of the victims' hands, along with Kernodle's left foot. I really wish that we had more information. We never got any information about that, huh? About why they did the left foot thing. So then they took more. This is where they did swabs. Lucy was in here yesterday whenever we were talking about exhibit number 59 and how we couldn't get the information out of the forensic reports because 59 in the forensic lab is like a cheek swab. She said something about where it was in the report, but I completely missed it. I'm gonna have to go back into, no, I'll email her and see if she can send me what she said because I missed it. It like got passed up, but I want to be able to find that information too. Okay, and then at 11:44 there was post-search photographs. Hey, okay, so do you have where whatever it was that you said yesterday about where exhibit 59? You did? Okay. See, yeah, but I don't get notifications. Like when I tell you I really don't get notifications. Let me look. I guess maybe I need to turn on my emails. like email notifications, just like when I'm mentioned in something, because then maybe I'll actually know. I don't see it. Oh, wait, there it is. Hold on. Oh, you talk about the one about Gamut going to Utah? Because that's the only one I'm seeing on here. Is that the one that you're talking about? That's the only one I see. I see from 5 days ago, the reason why Gamut flew to Utah. Then you have information about the CIA in an anonymous mail, A Life Among Spies book thingy. And then you tagged Harsh in something about Cyray. I don't see it, girl. Like I see this and I see this. I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay. Yeah, because I want to look more into that and see what's up with that situation. Okay, let's see, where were we? We're here. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then he says, I guess I need to put this one back up because it's like the thing. No, this one. That's a bad picture of that. Hold on. I just realized the share thing was off. Okay. 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 This one. Okay. Let me go check the thing real quick. Hold on. While I'm on YouTube, let me look at it. Okay, so for the 18% that said, how did you get there? Can you be honest and tell me if you are only hearing that now, or is that honestly what you heard to begin with? Like, have you changed your mind because another option was given, or is that actually what you originally heard? Like, I'm just asking. I'm not going to say nothing else about it because some people might have actually heard it. If he heard it, then obviously other people probably heard it too. But I'm just curious, for the 18% that said that that's what they heard, is that what you originally heard, or have you since changed your mind since there's been another option put out there? You don't know what you heard. I don't know what I heard originally. Okay. What's he got there? What's he got there? I can play it. Yeah, I can pull it up. I sure can. See, that's a good point too. That's a good point too. There's no proof of that, Dolphin. How did you get there was originally redacted. What's he got there was originally. I don't. There's no proof that one was like switched out for the other one. Is that what you're trying to say? Because there's no proof of that. I don't even hear like additional cuts. Like I don't. There's like not cuts in like ahead of it. It's like You can hear the background sound. You can hear them walking to it. And then there is a cut. And then he says, what's he got there? Or the cut's like right after that. We'll see. But I don't feel like something was switched out. If that's like, maybe I'm just, I think that's, yeah, I don't think he said both. I think that's a little out there. There's no proof of that. Okay, we need Warner. Where's Warner? It might be in Warner's body cam. Isn't it actually in Warner's? Let me get it ready. Because I think this is the one it is redacted in. Like fully. Oh my God, I didn't have it switched over. Hold on. So let's see. Yeah, it gets completely redacted here. So we got to go to Warner's.
Dude. What's he got there?
That's definitely what's he got there. Hold on, it wasn't doing it right. Hold on. Okay, this is Warner's.
Slow down.
So he's going to walk in. I'm going to start it from here. So he's going to walk in. Can't put captions on. See, it's grayed out.
Dude. What's he got there?
See, okay, see, there's not even a transcript. I can't even pull up a transcript. That's crazy. There's no caption and can't even pull up a transcript. Okay, so if you go to Noons, it's all redacted. The whole freaking thing is redacted.
Okay, get back.
I don't know if they're still in here or not.
Okay, I just need Warner to show up. No, go back. Okay.
Just come here. There's two. Looks like fatalities. Fuck. Dude.
And then it cuts off for Noon's body cam. But in Warner's, let me give it a second. Big redaction. Still going. Okay. So then we switch to Warner's. And you can hear more of it.
Dude. What's he got there?
Yeah, so there's like a redaction of whatever Noon says, And then he says, what's he got there? Now, yeah, so the hand that had the hair in it was Ethan's right hand that was like sort of like apparently in between like the wall and the bed. And with the fact that he was covered up with the blanket, they wouldn't have been able to have seen that from the door. And we don't hear any additional footsteps. Like, I don't think he's very far into the room. I could be wrong, but we don't like hear him really like walking around at that point. So I don't think that it's that. So I'm wondering what was in his left hand. Like, was there something in the left hand that they could actually visibly see? I don't know. Because they couldn't have seen his right hand unless they have walked in further to the room and like peered over. But let's put it like this, okay? That's a good point too, maybe. Well, I don't know. His legs were completely covered up. That's the problem. They said that they could tell by the way the blanket was on the wounds that it was after. So I don't think that they would be able to see that until they pulled the blanket up. Now, there was Xana's cell phone on the bed, on the left side of the bed, because remember, his was on the ground next to Xana. And hers was next to his left, but it wasn't, at least it wasn't photographed as being in his hand. But let's be so for real, though. Let's be so for real. If they can lean over and see hair in Ethan's freaking hand, they can see that knife sheath. And that's Warner making that observation. So if Warner can peer over and see a chunk of hair in Ethan's right hand as his body is covered up by a blanket and his hand is between the bed and the wall, he can see a knife sheath, right? Yeah, you could see like his shin, I think, right? Like it's like his, like below his knee and down. Below his knee and down. But yeah, like I do remember definitely seeing that and then questioning it too, though, because the way that it was first described was that Ethan was so tall that his legs like hung over the bed. And that wasn't true, because when we got the photos, like that's why we were questioning, like, are the bodies even in these photos? Because we don't see the white part of the socks like hanging off the bed like we were told. Like it's definitely like a foot away from the corner, like the bottom corner of the bed. And then that's whenever I emailed them and asked them to like clarify, are the bodies still here in these photos y'all released to the media? And they were like, yeah, they're there. So yeah, you're right. I just don't know what it could be. See, that's a good question. And yes, at this point we are, because we've already heard him plop the knife down on the table before Warner even walks through the front door. Because that was one of the first things that we tried to make sure that wasn't the case. Like, was he holding the damn knife or like what was going on? Now, is there a possibility that the dumbass walked up to the table and picked up the knife again for some reason? And that's what Warner is talking about? Possible, but we don't hear it plunk back down on the table. And again, if that's the case, then I will just reiterate survival instincts of a sock, because how would you turn around after seeing a stabbing and you see this person standing there with a knife in their hand and your first reaction is, oh, what's he got there? Like, that's so out of freaking context. It's so insane. So I don't know. But we know for a fact that before Warner goes up those stairs and before Nunes goes back down the hallway and they meet up, that the knife is already plopped down on the table. And it's on the table in Nunes' body cam before Warner even gets up the step. So I don't know. It's just a lot. It's a super lot. So I don't know. Maybe one day we'll know. I mean, it's not like I want to see the bodies. Like, I know from watching other videos from other YouTube channels, stuff on mainstream TV, stuff in movies, that there is a way for them to give us the technically unredacted footage of this and still blur out the bodies without taking away the actual context of the scene. I know the technology is there. We see it every day. They need to do that. They need to release these with just the bodies completely blurred, make them all little blurry little blobs if you have to, but leave everything else around it. Let us see the context. Now, That would suck too, because then we don't see Ethan's hand. They would have to blur out Ethan's hand because that's part of his body, and we wouldn't see the hair in Ethan's hand. But I don't know any other way that would like meet in the middle besides blur everything that is freaking human skin and let us see everything else. That's the only way I think that'll even work. But that still wouldn't be enough, I don't feel. And I don't want to see more. Like, I don't want to see all those wounds. I don't want to see the gaping holes in them. I don't want to see all of that. I don't want to. I want to see their faces the way that I know their faces look. I don't want to see all that. Okay, so if we go back down into, let me get rid of all this. If we go back down into what Turvey is saying in the report. Oh, and I did see somebody say something about putting the handwritten whatever in the Google Drive. It's in there. It's in there under a folder called Broken Plea. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking about it, let me go ahead and put the, here you go, the Google Drive link in there. Okay. Okay, so now he goes on to continue talking about the chain of custody sticker, and he says, so now we've got 6 people on there, let's say 7 with Shannon on the bag. But how many forms of handwriting on the actual chain of custody form? The one in the middle that says chain of custody. So I guess I need to just like keep that up there so I can keep referencing that because I want to keep it on the screen. As we're talking. Okay. And yeah, we picked up on this the second we saw this damn thing. We were like, that somebody wrote the whole damn thing. Same person. He says it's all the same. The names, the dates, and other information appear to be written by the same person and not just the same person. You see how it sort of starts going off to the left, to the right, how there's like a slant in the way that the dates are. That happens to me every single time that I go to number a document that I don't like pay attention to, like the line on a page that has like the lines, like the ruled, single ruled or double wide ruled or whatever pages. If it's a regular blank printer paper or just no lines or whatever to guide me, I start doing that. If I'm doing the numbers like constantly and it's like complete, I start going off to the side like that. This is proof to me, like I said back in November, that they literally went in and had somebody at the exact same day just go in there and write a whole bunch of stuff down. Now, where they're getting the information from is the question. Now, apparently the article states that Chief Dollinger mentioned something about an electrical record. So I FOIA'd the electrical record. I want the electrical record. Yeah, not only the same person, but written at the exact same time. Like, it would have to be, but that's also the issue. Because the last, entry is the lab. The last entry is the forensic lab. So did somebody at the forensic lab write all of this? We don't really know. They're the last person to get there and all of the handwriting matches. So was this filled out by the Idaho State Police? Is this the same handwriting as the handwritten note? Is there a way to show both of those? Like side by side? Because I wonder if this is Talbot's handwriting. But no, somebody, whoever did it would have had to have done it all the way down here. Because look, here's the officer that was the in-between. This is it getting picked up from Moscow Police Department. This right here is the 2 troopers meeting up in New Meadow. And then this is the second trooper giving it to the lab. It's it would have to be somebody from the lab that did that, right? Am I wrong to assume that? Thank you for the 20 gifted memberships, Van Long Beach. 20 memberships. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations to those who got those. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Do you think it could be a person who worked in the evidence area? Shannon? It could be Shannon. Yeah. Shannon or Redondo or whatever her name is. Yeah, it could very well be because she's the one who received it on the evidence receipt. So that wouldn't technically be, I guess, MPD that flubbed the chain of custody, right? Like if it was really missing, did they contact MPD and did MPD send them like, hey, here's the electronic record. Just go ahead and slap a sticker on there real quick. Could that have been what happened? I guess that's possible. C. McKenna's handwriting sort of looks the same too, I guess. Yeah, see, that's another thing. Like it just says ISPFS, like for forensic services, instead of it being like an actual person's name. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, since Kylie. I'm still waiting on information to come through for that one. There's still stuff going on in way of the lawsuit between her dad and the grandpa and Ryan Upchurch. Actually, I think that's coming up here soon. I think it's on the 12th. I'm going to have to go back in and check it, but there should be something coming up here soon that we're going to be covering in way of Kylie's case when it comes to that. And I also have done some FOIAs here over the past like 2 months or so and gotten some information back. And now I'm like still fighting them to get information because every time I FOIA Nevada County for anything, they tell me that Truckey's responsible for it. And then I ask Truckee for it and they tell me that they either don't have it or it's for another jurisdiction. And it's just been the same. I've been playing this game with them, this little dance, shall I say, the only dance I know how to do, obviously, for like 2 years now or so, trying to get more information since CHP released all those photos and all that drone footage. And it's just back and forth. It's just so back and forth. It's so ridiculous. I hate it. No, she got nothing. And I want to know so bad where little Miss Sammy is today. Like, I really probably will spend some money to try to like get some information about where Sammy is because I just want to know what she's up to. You know, I just want to know how she's living with her little fake friendship and her little bullshit, you know. I just want to know where she's at. Just curious. Yeah. Another one. See, that's another one who is claiming that she knew very much that her friend was like in need because she was too drunk and she didn't trust her enough to drive her. So she went and she gets a whole nother ride and just says, well, screw Kylie. I'm going to just let her drive her little drunk self home all by herself. And then, flubs a whole bunch of stuff, tries to take over, tries to tell all of the kids to tell her all the tips and the ex-boyfriend all the tips instead of going to the cops, all kinds of crazy shit. Another, just if you don't need enemies if you got this kind of person in your circle type girl, very much a Dylanish. Very much a Dylanish. Yeah. Sammy still gets me so mad. Okay. All right. So then he goes on to talk about how all of these people, and this is, I guess, the question that I don't know how this would really work. He says that basically everybody, in way of how this was all signed, that all of these people would be giglioed, which is the whole Brady Giglio thing about a cop not being up to par, doing some shady shit. Giglio says that anything having to do with someone's character or reliability or integrity is fair game. So then you have to really sit back and you have to question, so whose integrity is it really? Whose integrity is it really? Who is the basis for the problem? And we don't have that information, which is what the issue is. Like, we don't have any of the correspondence that they're claiming they got right before the plea. Because again, all of this information was apparently just like thrown down on Anne's desk less than a week or so, let's just give or take it, from the plea happening. So she apparently had no clue that there were all these issues with the chain of custody, how it looked like it was definitely fabricated to shit. Like, she didn't know any of this stuff. But she did a few days before, like 4 days before. And Turby can prove that, apparently, that it was something that was known. So that's another reason why it's just so crazy that everything ended up going this way, because now you have like all of this proof that there's all of these issues that could have been fought from the beginning that have a big stance. A big stance. He says, if you withhold that from the other side, if you lie about their background and don't disclose that up front, that's a Brady violation. Specifically, there's a concept of law enforcement called the Giglio list. This is a list of all officers who cannot testify because they are known to have given false evidence and testimony. But I don't really know if you can say that about everyone here. Like, it's really like who's responsible for it not being categorized or not being listed or signed or whatever correctly. Because if they do use some sort of a, like, electronic log, and for some reason the Idaho State Police needed something that was physical because they don't use the same system as Moscow Police Department, then I don't really think that that's more of an issue if it's corrected the right way and it's all like paper trailed and corrected. So we really probably do need to get these emails that Turvey is going to claim here exist, because at this point, like I showed you guys on page 3, they don't list a single problem when they get this thing on the 16th. There's nothing there. He says, seriously, I don't think people realize what a fundamental problem this could have been. I'm on the stand sometimes, and even when the prosecutor will say, well, I don't know what a chain of custody or whatever words you're making up is that something you've come up with in the books you've written, or is this a concept? So I'm going to be serious here for a minute, and I'm being serious. Y'all know I'm a damn smartass, all right? Constant. But Turvey is sitting here claiming that there are judges that say to him that they don't know what a chain of custody is. And I don't, like, that's crazy, in my opinion. He literally just said, I don't think people realize what a fundamental problem this could have been. And now he gives a real world experience. I'm on the stand sometimes, and even the prosecutor will say, well, I don't know what a chain of custody or whatever words you're making up is. And then basically we'll ask him, is this something that you've made up in the books that you've written? How would a prosecutor not know what a chain of custody is? Right? Like, that's crazy. Like, why would you? That's not true. There's no way in absolutely anything that a prosecutor would say, is a chain of custody one of those made up things you write about in your little fiction books? No. In no way did that ever happen. Give me something that didn't happen for 500, Alex. That did not happen. So that's weird to even like put that out there as something when you know damn well that no prosecutor ever asked you that or said that to you. That's crazy. And then his response to this, because he's reiterating this false story to Christopher Whitcomb. And I say, pick up the piece of evidence that you put forward, counselor, turn it over on the back and it says chain of custody. There's no way a prosecutor wouldn't know what a chain of custody is. Like, I feel like he's just not, and I didn't want to have a problem with Turvey. And I still don't have a problem with Turvey. So I don't know if this is like really for real something that he's using in his interview here, or if Christopher is making this shit up or interpreting it incorrectly, because we already know he interprets things incorrectly all the time. But to pretend that a freaking prosecutor doesn't know what a chain of custody is crazy. Ain't no way. Even in civil cases, there's like chain of custody for the way that evidence gets submitted in court. Whoever submits it first, whoever then looks at it, like everywhere. When it comes to experts that come in and have to look at evidence, there's like a ledger that gets signed in and signed out and timestamps. You out of your mind. See, look, I'm glad you said something. There's no way. That's crazy. Yeah, but that's a difference between a judge being a smartass and giving like an opinion because he's butthurt, and a prosecutor not knowing what a chain of custody is. Like, there's no way. There's literally just no way. Okay, so then he says, prosecutors seem to have no problem leaving out this information, or they just haven't read it, referring to specifically the Kohberger case is what it says. Most people ignore chain of custody these days, but remember the O.J. Simpson case. And I'm honestly so sick and tired of hearing about the O.J. Simpson case in relevance to this case. And I don't understand why these two are intertwined so much. Maybe I need to look into the O.J. case because I don't really know shit about it. I know who he is. I know what he did. like, I know he was like a football player guy, right? And I know that the whole white Bronco thing, and I know that it was like his ex-wife and her new dude or some shit like that. So I know there's been people talking about the son. I know like the whole, like, if it don't fit, you must have quit shit came from that with the glove. But I don't know like the evidence and things. But I know that the attorney for that case came out and he was the one who brought up all the stalker stuff for Kaylee on some news segment. That was like Mark Furman stepping in, and that's what he brought to the table in way of like chaos, which really wasn't chaos because the reports do show that there was something going on there. So maybe we need to like look into this case, because I don't know anything about the OJ case enough to know why these two things are put together. But I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Everything is, oh, remember the OJ case. And I just find that kind of crazy. Okay. The blood found on the gate and the glove found behind the house. Johnny Cochran's challenges included chain of custody irregularities that paled by comparison to these. That was massive. It's huge here too. So whatever happened in the OJ case is apparently nothing compared to what Turvey is claiming that he is seeing here in this situation. And then it says about why Ann Taylor didn't take this seriously. And that's what it says. Why did Ann Taylor seem to not take this seriously? I think she took it seriously, but this all happened within the last weeks before the trial. We did not discover it until the very end. Once we did, I decided, because of the way this stuff works, that we needed to actually do chain of custody inquiries on every piece of evidence, but it was too late. So I know that they don't do things the way that we do things. Like, we have to file FOIAs. So I wonder what it looks like on that end, because it obviously has to be some sort of like written formal request, right? But it can't look like ours. So I wonder how that would have looked like. Oh my God, that'd have been so many filings. That would have been so many freaking filings. Turvey believes that this chain of custody was fabricated because the Idaho State Police got the knife sheath. They went back to the Moscow Police Department and said, there's no chain of custody with this. We need the chain of custody. But again, I will say, I can't really trust that this was something that was just like slapped on at ISP. And this is why I have the biggest problem. This information that we got from Moscow Police Department when we FOIA'd the knife sheath in way of the photos, and I just moved the damn thing over to Broken Plea. I need to move it back. But when it comes to the sheath itself, this picture right here is the one that we got from Moscow Police. So now I need to go back and I need to say, hey, there's no way that you would be sending me this photo when I'm asking for Moscow Police's chain of custody, because the bottom date is signed by ISP. That means that this photo is not property of the Moscow Police Department. Unless they're giving me a photo from after they got it back on 12/16, then okay, fair game. But this exact same chain of custody sticker is also on the one that Turvey is giving to Kevin Fixler from the Idaho Statesman. So technically, what we have not seen is the original way that this bag left the Moscow Police Department. Because they gave me a picture with 11/16 and already signed by the Moscow Police Department. I mean, by the Idaho State Forensic Lab. So now I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to be like, hey, this is not y'all's photo. You need to give me y'all's photos. Because these are the other two that they gave us. Right here. Right here. Not the full picture. Not the full picture. This little corner piece that has the barcode, because again, they said they used some sort of a like electronic situation. Okay. And then this picture right here of the tape. And this is also like a mistake too, because this says 10/18/22, and someone had to come in and they had to mark out the 10, which they should have used a black marker instead of a green one because you can barely freaking tell. But this said 10/18/22 in like blue Sharpie, and they had to come in on 12/6/22, cross out the 10, and then put an 11, and then there's some sort of signature here that you can't even read. Can't even read. But this is what Moscow gave us. Something that already had a stamp on it from the Idaho State Police. So yeah, that's not really going to work. I have to go back and be like, I want the photos of before Williamson or whatever his name is took it from you. Like, I want the pictures of it, of like when y'all first got it. Like, I don't know why they chose to act like this was all that they had. They're so full of shit. Yeah, it's 12/6 for the correction. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to figure out more about that. Are you talking about when it went to Othram? Is there a new court filing? I haven't even looked today. They used Othram, and then no, there's nothing. They used Othram, but then they also sent some other DNA samples off to somewhere else, and I don't honestly know. Was it Middleman? Maybe it was Middleman. That's how they were able to fully conclude that Bryan Kohberger was completely excluded from the fingernail clippings of Maddie Mogen, because during the grand jury, they just said it was like inconclusive. And the state tried to say that the only reason why they even mentioned it was because they apparently will also try to submit information that's also like, okay, like isn't also negative for the defendant, something that's also like could help them, I guess. But we all know what their whole point was. They're trying to say, oh, well, just because it's inconclusive doesn't mean it's not his. Well, then Ann Taylor and her team took it even further and had it tested somewhere else to prove that indeed it was not. He could not even be included in the possibilities. He was completely excluded. Now, I wish that we knew if they did anything further, because there is so many unknown DNA. And I just feel like if you're going to do one, why didn't you do more? Like, if you're going to go in and you really want to have like alternate perpetrator evidence, or if you want to try to prove something else, then all of these other unknown DNA samples should have been pushed just as hard. So maybe we'll find out that they did more. I don't know. I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. Because I just don't understand how that's as far as everything went. That's absolutely so stupid. Okay. So then he says, because we have a photo of the bag and we have an email from this is the part we don't have. And because we have an email from the ISP crime lab to Detective Talbot saying they cannot process the contents of the bag without a chain of custody documenting its path. That's the part that we don't have. And I'm not going to pull all of the stuff up again. But the only thing that we have in the 2,356 pages, we just went over this. I think it was like in the last live. I think it was in last night's live. We pulled these up and we looked at these emails. We've actually looked at them like 3 or 4 times since the book came out. And I need to do just like a separate video of all the email stuff. But the only thing regarding the sheath in the emails from what we have from the 2,356 page release is them acknowledging it's the only thing that is actually evidence at that point in time and that it's on its way. And then there's another follow-up from when the 2 troopers handed off the knife sheath. And then there's another one when it gets there. But there's nothing in way of an email to Talbot, any sort of correspondence at all between the lab and Talbot. So that's something else that I'm going to be asking for. I don't think I filed that one yet, but that's something else I'm going to be asking for, those correspondences. Because if they exist, I don't see the problem with, there would be like no privacy reason for them to not release those if they exist. And if they do exist and they won't release them, well, that's still proof that something does exist. So we'll see what they do. But we personally do not have those emails. And again, on page 3, when they're notating any issues that they have had when they did receive evidence, there's no notations on 11/16. None. But now I'm going to be going in and I'm going to be trying to file information about this portion right here because it went from Talbot to Payne. So I guess I'm going to FOIA ISP for any information regarding the knife sheath from 11/13 to, I guess I'll say 11/14, because on the 14th is whenever it's now in the custody of Brett Payne. So I want everything that Talbot did in way of the knife sheath. And what's going to be super crazy is if this was actually written by Talbot, because notice that it says Idaho State Police in way of like this custody thing. But when it comes to the Moscow Police Department, they are using this little thing down here. They're using this like electronic barcode. So what we need is the electronic information from their electronic system at Moscow Police Department. And we need the emails regarding if Talbot actually created this chain of custody sticker. Because if he just like willy-nilly sat there and like wrote it down, he had to have gotten the information from somewhere. So I'm going to assume that if ISP really did email Talbot and be like, hey, we can't touch this until there's a chain of custody on it, then there had to be some sort of correspondence between Talbot and Moscow Police Department in order to get this information, in order for Talbot to write it. Does that make sense? So that's the information that I'm going to be requesting. And I'll probably, I'll send those in tonight. I'll send those in tonight. I might write them while we're still live. What time is it? 9:20? We'll see that. We'll see. Yeah, the 13th through the 14th. And any and all correspondence. There, you have to like word things a certain way. I don't think Matthew Gammett would be the one to even answer me on this. I feel like it would be a straight up ISP situation, because it is like two separate departments. Technically, they just forward stuff over. So maybe if we can get that, that'll answer some questions. Hopefully. Okay, it says, remember, this is the knife sheath, the foundation of the case against Kohberger, and we have an email from the state police lab to the guy who seized it saying it has no chain of custody attached. I wish they would release that. I really wish they would just do me a solid and save me a bunch of stress and anxiety and just release the emails, please. Let's make this very clear, Turby continued. He believed that this is not an issue of possible mishandling of a work product. It is much more serious, and this isn't covered by any non-disclosure agreement between me and Ann Taylor. So we can't, this is also very important considering the statement. This is not covered by any non-disclosure agreement between me and Ann Taylor. So we can talk about this all day long. This has nothing to do with my work on the case. So considering that he was brought in, this is the loophole that Turby gets away with, I guess, which is fine. I don't want him in trouble. Chris sucks. I don't want Turby in trouble for anything. He's claiming that because this is not about the crime scene itself, that because this isn't about the spatter, this isn't about how the assailant did whatever, how many people were involved, this isn't about his expertise itself, that he can freely discuss this because it's not his expertise, it's not his criteria, it's not what he got hired for. And in the non-disclosure agreement, it must be very, very, very specific to work product, and this has nothing to do with what he's there for. Therefore, he can talk about it. Okay, seems fair. Seems fair. But if that's the case, then Ann Taylor needs to recant her statement. Because if he's not under an NDA because this has nothing to do with what he was brought in for, then she had no right to come out here and run her mouth. I can't believe how pathetic she's like turning out to be for real. Like, honestly. Honestly. Okay. The question came up because the defense investigators were looking at this, and I see this chain of custody thing, and I say, what do you think about this chain of custody thing? And they said, holy shit, that's massive. We didn't catch that the first time. So I said, what are we going to do with this over the next week? We're going to check the chain of custody for every single piece of evidence. And then 4 days later, the case got shut down. That's important. They talked about it. It was brought in. It was made very, very, very clear how important this information was. And they literally discussed the fact that they were going to have to go in and FOIA all of the chain of custody information for every single piece of evidence. 4 days later, done. That makes this make even less freaking sense than the left did to begin with. This shit makes no sense. Like, even more makes no sense. Chain of custody isn't just about who touched it. It's about when and where it was collected. That's the first thing. Then who has handled it. And then in the process of handling it, what tests were performed that may have altered or even damaged and destroyed the evidence. Because in testing DNA evidence, they will sometimes cut a clipping out, or they will do a swab, or they'll do something that destroys an area of the evidence. I also want to know, like, does Turvey not know about the resubmitted swab? Because I haven't heard anything in way of, like, in his comments and stuff that he's put on certain, like, boards on Indeed and, like, certain places where he's mentioned stuff, and then in the book, and, like, nothing's being mentioned about that and its lack of a paper trail and how there's no explanation for it or, like, anything else. And that's the swab. It's not 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 that literally had nothing on them. It's 0.1. OG. It's the one, the only thing they have. I wonder if he even knows that. I wonder if he even knows that. Would he have been privy to, like, these forensic records since it doesn't have anything to do with the blood spatter? I guess he would have, right? Because he needed to know, like, the DNA results. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough, hopefully, because Matthew Gammett, like I said at the top of the live, responded saying that they got my request about the 1.1 and that they're looking into it and they just need more time. So we'll see. So then he says that nobody knew about it except for him and the defense team at the time. But I don't know if that's technically true because the prosecution had, like, all of the same information, and maybe they just, like, overlooked it or just didn't care enough because it looked okay to them, so they didn't think to dig any further because it just looked normal. But even if they did see an issue, if it wasn't something that wasn't, like, jumping out into your face, would they even say anything? Or would they try to just, like, make sure it gets swept under the rug and continue? Because they're shysty. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. It's interesting that they initially approached me just to look at the sheath. They were so paranoid, they wouldn't even tell me what case it was and wouldn't tell me what I was looking at. Well, see, then that statement right there kind of goes against what he just said, doesn't it? If they brought him in to look at the sheath, wouldn't the chain of custody for the sheath also be included in what was in his confidentiality agreement? So I don't know. I feel like it's in the same thing, right? I don't know. I feel like that's the same subject. But maybe not, because the chain of custody wasn't what he was looking at. He was looking at, like, its placement at the scene. But I feel like it's all the same. Oh, I don't know. I don't freaking know. Okay. They were so paranoid, they wouldn't even tell me what case it was and wouldn't tell me what I was looking at. And then, of course, we discovered that the single most important piece of evidence should have been excluded. Without a chain of custody, the sheath was no good. But how did they not, like, have the chain of custody and all this stuff, like, a long time ago? You know what I mean? Like, how do you go 3 years working a case, 2 years, however freaking long it was before we got there? How do you go that many years working the case and you don't have the original information from the sheath and you don't really bring it up? Unless it is one of the requests for discovery that were filed, and because everything was so sealed up, we don't know what the actual requests were. Maybe it's one of the requests that we haven't seen yet. But I don't know how not having all of the original information from the sheath going from Moscow to the lab, all the lab work, all the things, like, wouldn't that all have been included in their argument with the IGG since it's like the beginning of that journey? There's literally documentation in the files that say when like their part of it was over because the sample was getting ready for IGG. It's literally in there. I just don't know how Ann Taylor wouldn't have had this stuff. I find that hard to believe, honestly. Like, for real, thinking about it for real. Like, I find it really hard to believe that she wouldn't have at least had, like, the first couple of weeks of information up until Kohberger was arrested. I don't see how she wouldn't have had that after all this time. That seems odd to me. Once you start to analyze these core questions with posing and the placement of the sheath and the movement of the killer through the house, you start to figure out that the blood transfer doesn't match up either. Not with the narrative that is being given, that it's him, Kohberger, by himself running around at night, killing 4 people, but not killing 2 others, including a face-to-face witness, leaving blood trails that mysteriously get diluted. So my report goes to the prosecution, and they come back saying, we have our own expert, and she actually agrees with some of what I said, meaning Sutton agreed with a lot of what Turvey said. Not the most important parts, of course, like blood pattern analysis and timeline. They said, her theory is that the killer was running around the house naked. They said they believe the killer took off his clothes and cleaned up and then got dressed, and afterwards, that's what prevented bloody transfer outside the house. Now, this is also interesting because, and we've heard this stuff before, but we're just reiterating what we already heard throughout the timeline. Originally, there was a rumor that Bethany had seen someone running across the front parking area, but the original rumor was that he was in all black. And that's been talked about and talked about and talked about and talked about. There is videos out there everywhere about this. This rumor came from What's the Obsession, because she claimed to have all these connections with the frat boys over there, you know, all that shit. And that's where that came from. That was the rumor that Bethany saw a guy in all black running across the front parking area. Now, this got really misconstrued at some point because there is a case that gets referenced a lot by both the defense and the state. And it's like they call it the Davis case, something versus Davis. And in the case, they reference a bag with clothes in it and a naked person. But the bag with the clothes in it is a hospital bag with clothes in it. Instead of a hospital room, it's on top of a hospital chair. And it's a part of the Davis case. But because it's referenced by the judge in one of the hearings, and it caused a lot of issues. And a lot of people thought that they were talking about Bethany seeing a naked guy. And it took like a week and a half to finally get all of that out the way, because that's not what happened. They were referencing a case. There is a big number of people that read these documents and hear things that go on in the courtroom, and they can't understand or differentiate the fact that it's a case being cited as an example, and it's not actually something about the case. It causes a lot of confusion. But that was that situation, and we didn't really hear anything else about it. Now, then this whole thing came out, and people started going back and being like, oh, Bethany really did see a naked guy. Oh my God, she really did see naked Kohberger running across the parking lot. But then we never hear anything out of Bethany's face. Bethany never says a word in any of her interviews about seeing anyone outside, inside, or anything else. I was hoping to at least hear that she saw someone running across the parking area in all black, because then that would have matched what Dylan had to say. And then we could have maybe been like, okay, hold on a minute. We're getting some matching stories now, so let's back up and relook. And that never happened. It's actually the opposite. Everything that Dylan heard that should have had her calling 911 instantly, Bethany didn't freaking hear. And the one thing that Bethany heard, Dylan claims that she didn't. None of it makes any freaking sense. So then when she said this whole thing about how, oh, he had to have been doing all of this naked. Okay, where's his injuries? Where's the injuries? Where is still the time that it would have taken for there to be no bloody feet prints on those steps, for there to have been no bloody footprints in the room and literally just blood little speckles on the floor? Where's the time for all the cleanup? Naked or not, where's the cleanup? And to me, if you're naked, then you are probably going to be more drippy with liquid than you would if you were enclosed, because if you're enclosed, then the material is soaking up the blood and not dripping off of you as fast. If you're naked and there's nothing to be soaked up, like no material to soak up the liquid, you're going to be dripping a lot more. And we don't see that. Like, am I wrong in that thinking? That shit don't make no sense to me. So I don't know why she's like, oh, but he had to have been naked. No. That's the weird shit you're just making up. The same way that Nancy Grace always wants to say that Kohberger was in his undies when he was in the kitchen, and that's not the case. So no. No. So then he says, the problem is that Kohberger would have had to have washed up somewhere, but the bathroom on the second floor and third floors showed no evidence of that. They looked undisturbed. The first floor bathroom, however, was completely clean. And now I have been wanting to go back in, and I'm going to pull this up. I've been wanting to go back in and really look at these pictures from the bottom bathroom, because some of y'all have mentioned a couple of things. And considering where we know that Dylan was, it's really curious to me how empty the first floor bathroom seems to be, especially since we know that Bethany lived on the first floor. And if you look at the bathrooms on the second and third floors, they are decorated for the people that inhabit those areas. Right? So how come there's literally nothing? How come there's literally nothing that shows that Bethany or Dylan or anyone like that actually uses really like this bathroom? Like, it's not like completely freaking empty. We're not going to be super exaggerative. It's not super freaking empty, but it's empty. It's empty. There's like no toilet paper in it. It's empty. He says right here, there was no towels, no laundry, no toothbrushes, makeup, not even any toilet paper, nothing. It was pristine, empty. It was missing everything. So let's go down here. Fix this. I can't stand how this always moves. Like, you know that I want it in the corner. Why do you play these games with me? Ugh. Okay. So let's see. This is all Bethany's room. Hold on. Watch your eyeballs. Watch your eyeballs. The spare bedroom. Come on. It's still the spare bedroom. Hold on. Let me get my little paper. I think it's closer to the top. I've got to take time to go in there and finish this index. I have all these indexed, all these wall pieces. Those are all indexed. Hold on. We're on this side. No, that's the second floor bathroom. After they've moved a bunch of stuff. I feel like there's not really a lot of pictures of the first floor bathroom in this set of photos. I feel like we have more in the other drops of photographs than in this one. I think this is really more just like the evidence-based photos, and there wasn't really anything at all in the first floor bathroom. This is taking forever. I really feel like they're in other drops. Like, I feel like one of the more previous ones has like a lot, because I remember that one bathroom window being in there like 1,500 times. Come on, we're in Bethany's room. Are we gonna ever get there? I mean, we're in Dylan's room. Now Kaylee's room. Where's the freaking bathroom, bro? Like, I know for a fact that they're in the other drops because I went in there and verified that we had all of them in the Google Drive earlier today, and I opened them all. Still in Kaylee's room. Balcony. This is all Xana's room. Where the frick is this bathroom? '84. 84 is outside. Should have been right around here. You know what? I'm going to go open these other ones, because I know that there's a shit ton of them in these other drops. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the other one. Do you know what date it is? I mean, I'm just going to open them all. They only take a second. So this is the one from 8/22. Let me get it on the page. I mean, honestly, you know what? Hold on. I bet you the MPD ones have it. Really? Okay, I'm on the one with 382. You said it was what page? 84? Yep, there it is. So the one dated on this page right here, It's the one dated 8/22/25, but I also have this in the Google Drive too, for those who can't access it because of like VPN issues or whatever. Okay. So this is the first floor bathroom. Make this bigger. Are they going to turn the light on? Okay. Okay, so it looks like there's a soap right there and a drain plug. No towels. No soap. No toilet paper. Nothing on the walls. Oh, no, there's soap. I couldn't see it from the other angle. I mean, there is trash in the trash can and trash on the floor. What's this red thing? A can. There's a towel right here on the back of the door. This looks like that Monday brand. I use their, what'd you call it? Dry shampoo? I mean, there's some stuff. But there's no decorations or anything like the rest of them. The rest of them have stuff on the walls and stuff. But there's Dove soap. There's a razor. Monday. I think this is Pantene. Cetaphil. Face wash. I don't know what this is. Drain for the tub. I think this is probably the spot that people were talking about a while back. I mean, it just looks like dirty tub to me. But it also looks like really bright white. Like, I wonder if it was just recently scrubbed down. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it has stuff, but definitely not like the rest of them do at all. The TV being on is always something that has been interesting. See, do they have photos of the other bathroom? Yeah. See how this one just looks like way more used? Like there's dirty clothes, Febreze, stuff on the floor. Kaylee's Crocs, which looks like there's blood on them, but it's probably dirt. I don't freaking know what any of this is. But these two like this marking right here, and then the stuff on the shoe has always been interesting. Blender cup. Yeah, see how there's like stuff on the walls? Washcloth, a poofy thing. There's no washcloths or anything in the other one. Let's look at the other bathroom. Oh. We have a robe, rugs. Something else the other one is missing is rugs. And see, okay, so all around in these ones are like rust stains. And in the one on the first floor, there's like no rust stains. It looks a lot cleaner, for sure. You see the loofahs and stuff? I mean, yeah, I'll admit it does look a lot different. It's not as decorated. It's not as used looking, and it looks freshly scrubbed. It does look freshly scrubbed. Okay, then it says, again, the state alleged that Bryan Kohberger was running around the house naked. It was 30 degrees outside, but somehow he stripped off his clothes before entering with the deliberate intent to commit what prosecutors concluded were non-sexually motivated crimes, or he came in wearing clothes, but then somehow snuck down to the first floor where he cleaned up in the bathroom, then got dressed and ran back upstairs where Dylan Mortensen saw him dressed in black all over again, wearing a black balaclava, but he did not kill her. Are they serious? I mean, yeah, that's crazy that that's actually what they were. Were they really going to go to trial and have her get on the stand and be like, he did it and he was naked? Like, was that what they were really going to do? Could you imagine? Could you imagine the laughing stock of the court? Freaking crazy. So he says that there's 3 reports, and that is true because she has her original one that was filed in August, and then she has the other one where she did her amended stuff, and then there's technically another one when she goes back in and she is responding to Turvey's response, I guess is what he means by that. We have the 2. We have the amended one, and then we have the other one where she goes in and she's responding back and forth to Turvey. I don't think we've gone over the second one. So we're going to have to do that pretty soon here. He says the first one details her findings. Then we have the next part, which is her rebuttal, where she directly responds to my report point by point. Her response to me is, I agree with Turvey, but she ignores a bunch of stuff she can't seem to explain. She ignores things she has no answer for, but has to address, like the lack of bloody transfer. That's when she says, oh, it's because he's running around the crime scene completely naked. Let me go ahead and pull it up so I can show it to you guys. And I'll add these to the Google Drive too. Let's see, that's the original one right here. So this is what he's talking about when he's saying she responded basically like agreeing, but ignoring everything she couldn't answer. It's this one right here. See, this is the January 22nd, 2025 exhibit that was turned in by Turvey, and that's the same date that he mentions in the book. So she's going in responding to Nodal's claims and then also stuff written by Turvey. His name should be down here somewhere. Right here is where she starts speaking back to Turvey about stuff. So we're going to have to go through all of these. Maybe this weekend we'll do a live and we'll read over this stuff right here because we haven't done this one yet. Let's see. Yeah, it says right here that on January 22nd, 2025, he turned in a 24-page report titled Crime Scene Analysis. Now, this is where I'm going to read off the sections of what he is claiming, what he's calling his modus operandi, however you say it. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. So all I can do is like read this part because this is what was apparently in his report. Okay. All very specific to the crime. Okay. Planning and precaution. Planning. Whatever planning may have taken place with respect to this crime, it resulted in an excessive number of victims with an excess of bloody transfer and bloody clothing on the part of the suspects. This took additional time to both affect and clean up before they could leave. And how could you try to say that there wasn't a cleanup when there's literally nothing on the floor? No bloody feet prints. No actual bloody footprints leading to freaking anything. The only thing we do have is right in front of Dylan's door. One of them was never analyzed and the other one was never even photographed. And with those two together, it's like someone taking a step fresh off the stairs and then taking another step. And they didn't do anything with it. They made a big deal about it. They used it in the probable cause order to try to say that this was the path of travel for Kohberger, according to Dylan. But then the forensic reports prove they never analyzed L4 and they never photographed the other print because they were already told that it was related to law enforcement walking the scene. So again, why didn't Ann Taylor fight the fact that the PCA had this false statement in there, knowing that she could go back to the forensic records and prove that they never even analyzed that print, that latent print? That seems like something you should be able to fight in court. Okay. Then he says, precautionary acts. The precautionary acts in this case include the execution of living witnesses, the cleanup of bloody hands, feet and footwear, and clothing before leaving, and the disposal of said clothing along with the weapons used. Direct evidence on this cleanup can be found in at least some of the dilute blood transfer, which was located in different areas of the home. Indirect evidence includes the absence of bloody transfer from feet and hands, despite the movement of suspects within the home, the necessary opening of doors, and the absence of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general. And just like we've said before, even if some sort of booty or protective covering was on someone's shoe, there would still be some sort of impression print. There would still be some sort of transfer print. All of this would have required an extensive amount of time at the scene to clean, perhaps hours, which is inconsistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed within the time interval of less than 15 to 20 minutes, which in reality, if you go back to the time runs, 1.5 to 3.5 minutes. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Number of suspects. At least 2 suspects were involved in this attack. This is indicated by the fact that multiple weapons were used against Kaylee, that multiple types of lethal force were used against Kaylee, and that Ethan and Xana appear to have been attacked at the same time. This is inconsistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed solely by one individual. Posing. As mentioned prior, posing is evident in the present case. This is based on the following facts and evidence. This refers to intentionally arranging the scene for effect. In present case, the bodies of Kaylee and Madison were posed together after the lethal attack suffered by both, and then they were covered together with a comforter. That's also interesting because it's almost like if that's the case and they actually weren't attacked like with the comforter originally on them, then it's almost the exact same scenario as we see with Ethan being covered up with the blanket after. Staging. Crime scene staging refers to an attempt to confuse or misdirect a law enforcement investigation by altering, fabricating, or planting evidence in relation to a crime scene. In the present case, a K-bar knife sheath was discovered in the crime scene by law enforcement. Evidence of staging with respect to this item of evidence is as follows. Now, keep in mind also that this report by Turvey would have been written months and months and months before they ever saw the handwritten note claiming that the knife sheath was on the floor, or I'm pretty sure he would have mentioned it in his report because he seems pretty adamant about it. You know what I mean? So let's keep that in mind for why it's not being mentioned here. It was months before they knew. The sheath was found precariously placed just slightly under the body of Maddie Mogen and partially covered by the comforter that was placed atop the midsection of her body by the suspects. It could not have fallen accidentally into this location, which is true. And if it's something that fell during an attack, again, there would be smear underneath it, even if it was just a little bit of little sprinkles, right? The way that we see it, just a little bitty bit of sprinkles. Those sprinkles would still have some sort of disturbance if the sheath would have been where it was as the attack was going and the blood was still wet. And that's not what we see. There's no disturbance. It's literal just like drops, which is just weird. It's just weird. The sheath was new and unused, which sure freaking looks like it. It literally looks like it, as indicated by the absence of damage or wear to the leather. The sheath was face down and had received only a few areas of minute blood spatter, impact, or aspirated, while resting atop a sheet with significant impact spatter all around. But again, going back and looking at the sheet, it's not as bloody as I guess they're trying to make it seem. It's spattered around because it's on the edge of the bed, not directly under the bodies. The inconsistency of blood spatter dispersion and density indicate transfers occurring at different times under different conditions with different levels of intensity. The sheath was placed at the location without receiving bloody transfer from the hands or fingers of the suspect that did it. Yeah, like nobody touched it at all. This means it was done after the attacks and posing, but also after the suspect has washed their hands subsequent to cleanup efforts at the scene. Like real careful not to do nothing. Primary target. Why am I like so far down on here? I need to fix my camera. The primary target in the case was Kaylee Goncalves. She was specifically targeted, but you know what? Can I like pause for a second? I can barely see. Let me turn on my lights and stuff. Hold on. Okay, now I can see better. Jeebus. Okay. Move this closer so I can sit back some. Here we go. This is better. Okay. Where were we? Okay. The sheath was placed at the location without receiving bloody transfer from the hands or fingers of the suspect that did it. This means that it was done. Okay, I read that part already. Primary target. The primary target in this case was Kaylee Goncalves. She was specifically targeted by the suspects, and the rest of the victims in the home were collateral, which is the opposite of the 4chan. Excuse me. The 4chan says Kaylee was collateral. So that is the very opposite of the original rumor. This is based on the following facts and evidence. Kaylee's room was the least convenient and most risky to access in the home, yet she and Madison were attacked first. Okay, but Kaylee's room isn't where the attack happened. It happened in Madison's room. And to say that Kaylee's room was the least convenient and most risky to access in the home, I also don't agree with, because Kaylee's room had a balcony with a sliding glass door, and it was wide open. Well, not like wide open, but it was open for Murphy. So I don't know why he's saying Kaylee's room was the least convenient and most risky to access, yet she and Madison were attacked first, because it didn't happen in Kaylee's room. I feel like that's an incorrect statement. Like, am I wrong there? Like, I'm honestly trying to, like, I don't want to seem like I'm nitpicking at every little thing, but for him to say Kaylee's room was the least convenient and most risky to access, yet she and Madison were attacked first, makes it seem as if he's trying to, like, insinuate that it was Kaylee's room, right? And that's not accurate. So maybe I'm just okay. Thank you. Like, even if I'm wrong, if I'm interpreting it wrong, like, please tell me. Like, don't just agree with me to agree with me. But I feel like that's what he's saying, right? That's important that he understands that what happened in Madison's room and not Kaylee's, because that kind of takes away some stuff. The attack suffered by Kaylee was the most extensive, involving the most injuries, and was therefore the most time-consuming. I agree with that, because it was horrible. Kaylee was stabbed repeatedly in the face until she was unrecognizable. No other victim suffered this amount of close-up facial attention or damage, which is crazy, what we've heard. Every single one of those officers that walked in there said that they were having a hard time trying to figure out what they were looking at, because everything was so unrecognizable, meaning it didn't look human. Like, her structure no longer looked human. I can't even imagine the kind of therapy, especially in news. He was so young. Okay. Kaylee suffered multiple types of lethal force: stabbing, blunt force trauma, and asphyxiation. I'm really trying to use the real words here, as much as possible, but YouTube has been very much suppressing things because I am doing that. But I'm really just tired of speaking YouTubese. It's really just annoying. All other victims suffered only one form of lethal force. This level of unnecessary close interaction and brutality are characteristics of primary targets in cases motivated by anger and rage. And I wrote next to it, very personal, which is why Jack Ducour has always been somebody that was really interesting to look at. And if you're going to want to make me believe that Kohberger, with his dexterity, mobility issues, with the fact that he has visual snow, his autism, like all these other things, is capable of like doing all of this, then so could Jack. Like if you're going to tell me that Kohberger could do this, well then so could Jack. Let's be so serious. And I'll tell y'all right now, my ex-husband in my first marriage, whenever I was 18, he was 5'9" and I don't even know, 105, soaking wet, okay? But when he would get in fights because he was in the oil field and just like angry all the time, and he's still just as stupid as he used to be, but still like when he was like small and would do stupid shit, like he could do damage. Skinny little dude. I mean, like he was 85 pounds until he was like 15 freaking years old, kind of skinny little dude. And he could damage. So if you're going to try to tell me that Kohberger did something, well, then Jack could have too. Motive. The physical and behavioral evidence in this case, evidence in an anger, retaliation, motivation. As explained in Turvey from 2022. So something else that he wrote. So maybe we should look at more stuff he's put together. This is evidenced by crime scene behaviors that involve a great deal of rage, either towards a specific person, group, or institution, or a symbol of either. It is also evidenced by what may have be referred to as overkill, which is something we've heard a lot here. Injury beyond that needed to cause death, involving the repeated infliction of injury subsequent to the application of lethal force, in combination with multiple types of lethal force against one victim and not the others. This motive is all but confirmed. Now, the important part about that is also what we know about what was going on in their personal lives. Jack and Kaylee had broken up because Kaylee was supposed to be moving. She didn't want to be in a relationship that was tied back there because she was moving forward, moving to Texas. She wanted to start fresh. She was growing up. So then Jack is being told, as far as we know, that the only reason they're not together is because she's about to move. Well, now here she is dating all these other people and apparently starting to catch a little bit of feelings for this one guy in particular that she was hanging out with on Friday night. And now here comes Jack. Seeing all of this, knowing what's going on, feeling who knows what type of way already because of the breakup from what we know of him contacting the university about how poor his mental health had been lately before the crimes. But then now what, he gets wind that she might actually be like really about to be in a relationship with this other guy and she's about to leave. Like, I can imagine he'd be upset. It's not an excuse for shit, but you have to really think about the mindset when it comes to motive. And also, who had access to the 1112 King Road footage before the Goncalveses did? Jack. Because he's the one who gave it to them that night. You know? So then it says, that's the end of his report thingy. So then it goes to talk about how on 11/16/22, evidence identified as MM2-1810, which is the knife sheath, was transported by ISP to the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab in Meridian, Idaho for forensic testing. And that's the troopers. That's a trooper that picked up the sheath at MPD. There was, again, a handoff in New Meadow where that trooper gave it to the other trooper. That other trooper brought it to the lab. And then it says Exhibit M, otherwise known as 22MO1810, is the K-bar knife sheath seized from Mogen's room. In Turvey's report, Turvey wrote to Ann Taylor in his report, as with any forensic examination, crime scene analysis requires an assessment and consideration of the nature and quality of an underlying forensic investigation and examinations. This is a crucial step in any scientific process necessary to reliably establish that due diligence by government agencies has resulted in a showing of evidence integrity and an absence of negligence. Then he goes on to say that if this had gone to trial, it seems almost inconceivable that Judge Hippler would have allowed it. The K-bar sheath and the DNA evidence supposedly found would have never been introduced. I don't believe that because Hippler is a jackass. No, I don't believe that at all. What have we seen? What have we seen? We have seen them try to enter alternate perpetrator evidence. And then we have seen an order claiming that he's not allowing it, and that the only way that anything can be brought into the court that's even associated with it is by some sort of cross-examination with witnesses on the stand. So considering what he's already done, I don't think that Hippler would have done the right thing here. I think he would have dismissed it. I think he would have found a way to dismiss it because he was paid to. You don't bring somebody in who's never, ever, ever handled a crime case and put them on after a change of venue and all the insanity that's already going on here. You also don't give this case to somebody who's never, ever, ever, ever dealt with a death penalty case before. There was so many mistakes. Jesus Christ. So many freaking mistakes. And so then he says, this is what Chris says in the middle. Why in the world, one might ask, would Ann Taylor choose not to challenge the single most important piece of evidence against her client? This is where he admits he has a recorded Zoom call, because he doesn't say you can listen to it yourself. I'm pretty sure he says you can watch it, meaning it's a face-to-face Zoom call. They were looking at each other. I asked her that myself. I asked her twice. Once the week before Kohberger changed his plea, which is when they got all the information and he was like, okay, now we need to go in and request everything for every piece of evidence because we have a problem. Okay, that was that conversation. So I'm going to assume that one's recorded too. And then once, about 2 weeks later, I recorded my Zoom call with her and I asked her all of the hard questions. Chris asked, you recorded your call with Kohberger's attorney? Turvey says, yes, I did. I asked her how it was possible that she allowed her client to plead guilty in light of such damning contradiction. You can watch it. But before you do, you have to look at the rest of what I discovered while analyzing this case. After 27 years in the business, I can barely believe it myself. And that's where part one ends. And part two will begin. But in between this and part two, we're going to go over the preview for Cyray's freaking book. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow evening. Unless we get some new documentation, unless something pops off that's like last minute, that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow evening. So I will say, I would love to hear the conversation between Turvey and Ann Taylor. Both of them. I want to see her face and the inflection in her voice during the conversation when all of this information about the knife sheath is being introduced to her by Turvey, because that's going to tell us if it's really being introduced to her or not. Does that make sense? And then I want to see how she speaks about how she allowed this and what her excuses are for this. Because even if Bryan somehow is the one who decided to do this, and it wasn't because Ann Taylor did whatever, because that's what they're trying to say now, there's no reason why Ann Taylor couldn't have gone to the judge and been like, he's my client and he's going to do whatever the frick he wants to do, but let me tell you what we have found here. Because at the end of the day, Judge Hippler had no right agreeing to this plea. He could have denied it. He could have said, nah, I don't care that y'all agree to a damn thing. We've gone through hell and back 3,000 times for this damn case. We've gone through a change of venue. We've gone through all this crazy shit. No, hell no, we're going to trial, is what Hippler should have done. Everyone and every freaking department here failed. From Moscow Police Department entering the scene on 11/13 to the day that Judge Hippler put down the damn life sentences on Kohberger, every department here effed up somehow or another. We've had documents come out and get taken back from multiple departments because something's wrong, and everyone's just screwing up all over the place. I mean, I don't understand this. I really don't understand this. I don't understand this at all. Thank you for the $4.99, Kim. Didn't CW say there were rumors about hookups kept secret in the house? Said not BF but another, maybe DM and JD. He sure did. I do not remember which live it was. I recorded all of them and I have them in my other channel that I made just to like store stuff. But he did say that. I feel like it was maybe Lana's. Because it was like the way that he said it. He said basically yes, but not those people. Like I think she very specifically asked about 2 specific people and he denied it being those people, but then said a different coupling or a different couple or something like that. So he for sure did. Yes, he did. But he didn't give details on that. Thank you for the 10, Angel. You tell him. I got to go get some rest. Love you all. Sweet dreams. Have a great night. I hope you get some good sleep. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the 10. I appreciate that. Yeah, different combo. I think that's the way he put it. Different combo. He sure did. Not that combination, yeah. Okay, so it was birdies. Okay. Not that combination. Okay. Well, I'm glad you were in here. Yeah. So I wonder who it was. Because Bethany was sleeping with Kai Davis. But see, that's also really questionable too now, because now we have these freaking text messages from Erica to Ethan saying that he's being cheated on. So I don't know if he's maybe trying to imply that situation. I don't know. That's one thing that I don't appreciate about him too, is that he puts like stuff in there about you're getting cheated on, these messages from Erica, and he's like, it doesn't even really matter. Like, but it does matter. Like, if you didn't think that it was necessary, then why did you put the timeline in here? And if it doesn't matter to you, and you could have not put it in here, it's obvious that he made that choice because he was like, I really contemplated whether I should put that in there or not, meaning he could have skipped over it, but he didn't. I mean, I'm kind of glad he didn't if it is true. And if it's work product, obviously it's true, because it's interesting as shit, because what is this? And because it goes, like, it literally correlates with the egotistical issue that we heard about, the tiff over a girl, like everything when it comes to the Sigma Chi party rumors, that goes with that. The misconception about where Xana was before the party. Oh, she was already there. Oh, no, she wasn't. Ethan went to go pick her up. Like, why is everything so inconsistent? Inconsistent. I don't know. This case is so frustrating. And it's not fair and it's not right. Okay. Me too. Me too. I'll send him some money tonight. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Actually, you know what? Thank you for actually reminding me that he about community post, because Connor posted a few days ago that he verified that Barry, the dumbasses from the whatchamacallit post were not interviewed. Let me go find that post and pull it up on the screen. I'm glad he got Pete's interview. That'll be hella interesting. Oh, it's actually, he's mentioning that in there. Why did I like not even see that? Okay, MPD is estimating $340 for 2 interviews with Pete Elgoriaga. The first interview is 37 minutes and the second one is 74 minutes. We have about 7 days to make a payment. And then there's his PayPal. If y'all want to help him with this, I'll send him some money on PayPal today. But if y'all want to help him with this, then here's his PayPal link. I'll put that in the chat. But it says MPD confirmed that interviews with David Barriocha and David Loach do not exist. But you know what? Actually, that doesn't technically mean that they don't exist. That might mean that MPD did not interview them, but ISP might have. Or the feds might have. Because there's no way, bro. I don't give a frick. I don't give a hot damn. There is no way that shit comes out on 4chan naming them and people can figure out who it is and they don't get talked to. There's no way in shit that they didn't get talked to. So MPD not talking to them makes sense because MPD sucks all the way around. But I have a feeling another agency did. And if it's the feds, we'll never know. If it's the feds, we'll never know. Yeah, we're going to listen to Chicken Boy soon here. I still want to do my Gypsy Rose stuff this Sunday because we didn't do it last Sunday, and I don't want to I don't want to put that off because putting her ass out on front is important to me too. She is someone who should not be out here. She is someone who should not be allowed to have a child, should not be allowed to have access to the internet. She shouldn't be free. And I'm adamant about that shit. So as much as I'm adamant about this, I still need to keep at least twice a month we do Gypsy Rose on Sunday. And what's coming next is going through Nick Godejohn's interrogation tapes, including him talking to himself while he's waiting to be talked to, because there's a lot of interesting shit that he says that's very important. So I'm still planning on doing that on Sunday. But as of now, oh, thank you for the $4.99, Miss Mojo. Thank you. So as of now, how do I have this set up? Tomorrow we're going to do the second part of Lakeland's interview. That one is in the morning at 11:45, same time that we did on Tuesday. And then tomorrow evening, we're going to go over Cyray's book. I still have to go through a lot of it. I really haven't looked at a lot of it because we've been doing this. So I need to go in and I need to make highlights on stuff so that I'm a little bit more prepared. Because again, you can't highlight it, which is just a big reason why it's annoying me right now, because you can't highlight it on it and it's just going to be more annoying and more time. But I need to do it so that I'm at least a little bit organized for that. So we're going to do that tomorrow evening. And then Friday, I don't know what we're doing Friday yet. We might not do anything Friday because I usually try not to do anything on Friday. So I might post something in the morning, but it might be an update on another case. Because there's some stuff in the David and Celeste case. There's some stuff when it comes to Anna Kepner. You know, her parents are not going to go to the murder trial. Like Chris, that side of the family, they're not going to go. And apparently they were just fighting over child support when it comes to the little murder boy, the little weirdo. I'm sorry. What? She's dead and he's about to go to prison and we're arguing about freaking child support and neither one of y'all even have him. He's living with another relative. If Friday morning's probably just going to be an update video on one of those cases, but I'm probably going to leave my evening open unless there's a super crazy update on something. Cause Fridays is usually when I do stuff with the boys. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So then we'll do Chicken Boy over the weekend. We'll do a couple other things over the weekend. Yeah. Yeah. They're not going. It's crazy. Yeah. Tell me why he's out there just living life. You know that the other day that he couldn't, the person that he lives with couldn't keep him for something that they had to go do. So he was allowed to go to work with his dad. His dad does lawn maintenance in neighborhoods. And this dude, this nasty little essayer freaking is just allowed to walk around the freaking neighborhood with his dad because his dad needed to be his babysitter for the day. I'm sorry? What is happening? What? I just don't understand. I don't understand. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't be alone with anyone, but he should be in a juvenile facility. Even though he's being tried as an adult at this point, until the trial happens, he should be at least being held in some sort of juvenile facility. I just can't believe it. I honestly just cannot believe it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I will see you guys in the morning. Y'all have a super, super great night. I appreciate you guys being in here. Thank you again for the super stickers and the super chats and the gifted memberships. Thank you so much for that. And just again, thank you so much for y'all being in here and caring about facts and truth and trying to get through all of this boo-boo just to get to the actual basis of what happened. If we ever do. Because damn, this is just crazy stuff. Y'all have a super great night. Super great night. I hope you get the best freaking sleep ever, and you wake up and you don't have to do nothing with your hair because it's just perfect and you can just stretch and hear the birds chirping and just go on about your day. I hope everything is just perfect because we need more of that. I'm so tired of all of this with the virus and all the crazy stuff. Let's just be Snow White for a while and listen to the birds and just have no cares. Can we just do that for one day? It'd be lovely. Wouldn't it be lovely? All right, you guys, y'all have a super, super great night. I will be seeing you guys very soon. See y'all.
If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already, and please don't forget to make sure that the notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives.